Chapter 431. Xiao Lei took almost an hour to write the report, carefully choosing his words and sentences. From the time he received the doctor's call to the end of the battle. During the whole process, he omitted the part where he was injected with anesthesia and interrogated Landsberger. He would never mention that. He only mentioned that Landsberger confessed that Gu Qin was a CIA spy and that Xiaoxian was also involved in the kidnapping of Shen Tianyin. Landsberger was dead, and so were his men. Dead men tell no tales, so some secrets were kept for the time being. Ling Hao and Sher Boren read Charlotte's report. Damn it, Sher Boren was furious. The CIA is waging war. Do they think there is no one in China? Good job. That's how it should be. We'll kill whoever comes. Let's see if they still dare to be arrogant. China was a sovereign country. The CIA, armed to the teeth to kidnap hostages, was indeed an act of war. Even ordinary people would be angry, let alone Sher Boren. Ling Hao said, "Mr. Sher, calm down. Those people are dead. This matter will be decided by the higher-ups. We don't have to express our opinions." Sher Boren snorted. What will the higher-ups do? I think everyone will pretend they don't know about this. Even if we protest, the U.S. will not recognize the identity of those people. Charlotte had been observing Sher Boren and Ling Hao's expressions. Fortunately, neither of them asked about the contents of the report. This saved him the trouble of explaining. For him, this matter had come to an end last night. He didn't care about how China would respond or how the U.S. would deal with it. It was useless to care. At this time, Tang Yin came in and said directly, "The latest information is that Gu Qin has got off the plane in New York. And Xiaoxian also returned to Korea last night. These two people are really suspicious." Sher Boren's face was cold. Ling Hao said, "This matter ends here. If Gu Qin comes back, arrest him immediately. If Xiaoxian enters the country again, monitor him and then make a decision." "Boss Sher, do you think this is a good idea?" "I'm just making a suggestion." Sher Boren said, "What else can we do? The person who deserved to die is already dead, and we don't have any evidence to force the Koreans to hand him over. Let's end this matter here for now. If there's a chance, I must find Gu Qin and Xiaoxian to settle the score." "That's good," Ling Hao said. "Charlotte, get ready and then go to Jerusalem." "When?" Charlotte asked. "The sooner, the better." Ling Hao said, "Hurry up and deal with the work at hand. It's best to leave within 3 days." "So fast?" Charlotte pretended to be surprised and embarrassed. Ling Hao said, "We know you are very busy, but this matter has attracted the attention of the United States. We must take back the things hidden in Jerusalem as soon as possible, in case something happens." Charlotte said, "All right, 3 days. That's it. I'll go first. I wish you a safe journey and come back early." Ling Hao left these words and left Sher Boren's office. Sher Boren glanced at Tang Yuyin and said, "Yu Yin, you also go and get ready." Tang Yuyin said, "I have nothing to prepare. I can leave at any time." Long Bing stared at Charlotte and then blinked at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled bitterly and said, "Boss Sher, 2 people are not enough. Jerusalem is a chaotic place. The Mossad in Israel and Hamas in Palestine are not to be trifled with. I want Chief Long to go with us. What do you think?" Sher Boren glanced at Charlotte and then moved his eyes to Long Bing's face. Long Bing glared at Charlotte and scolded, "You are really making trouble for me. Without me, you don't even dare to go to Jerusalem. I'm not your nanny." Charlotte looked at Long Bing blankly and was speechless. She was the one who asked him to ask Sher Boren to let her join the operation. Now he had asked, but she said this to him. Sometimes women were really unreliable. "Stop acting." Sher Boren waved his hand and said, "You 3 go." Long Bing suddenly smiled and said, "Well, I will go to Jerusalem." Sher Boren glared at Long Bing and said, "You got what you want, but you are still pretending. You are getting more and more outrageous." Then he looked at Charlotte and said meaningfully, "You have picked the 2 most beautiful women in my 101 innings. I have nothing to say, but you have to put your mind on the right track. Let me remind you, if you don't bring the things back, I will beat you to death." Charlotte was speechless. After leaving 101 innings, Charlotte returned to the Thunder Horse Army factory. He would leave for Jerusalem in 3 days. He had to make all the preparations in these 3 days. Jerusalem was the center of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and it was chaotic. Not only did he have to face the agents of the Israeli Mossad, but he also had to face the militants of Hamas. What worried him the most was the people from the CIA. Israel was an ally of the United States in the Middle East, and the two sides had intelligence cooperation. With this kind of alliance, there was almost no obstacle for the people from the CIA to carry out any operation in Jerusalem. Therefore, on this trip to Jerusalem, he had to bring the human skin mask that his father had given him. There were also weapons. This time, he was going to bring the XL 2500 sniper rifle that he had modified and the Gale assault rifle that he had made himself. The only trouble was to explain the origin of the human skin mask to Long Bing and Tang Yuyan. After thinking about it, he thought of a way. He analyzed the material composition of the human skin mask and searched for some production techniques on the internet. After completing these preparations, he carved a mold himself, bought silicone and other materials, and made his own human skin mask. These were very delicate tasks, but with his extraordinary learning ability, it was not a problem at all. Originally, his purpose in doing this was to create the origin of the human skin mask to avoid the suspicions of Tang Yuyan and Long Bing. However, when he started making the human skin mask, he realized that he had made it better than the original. Of course, this was because of the ability of his left eye. The precision of the mold he made was extremely high, almost like a living face. Also, during the process of making, his left eye's microvision ability allowed him to observe the subtle changes in the material, allowing him to adjust in time to achieve the best results. After this unexpected result, Charlotte did not hesitate to throw the human skin mask that his father had given him into the stove and burn it. The reason was simple. If there was a better one, why should he use a worse one? Moreover, he could not explain the origin of the human skin mask. After putting on the new human skin mask, he cleaned it in front of the mirror. Charlotte realized that he had become a completely different person. In the mirror, he was an Asian man in his early 30s. His skin was dark and yellow, and his appearance was average. He looked like someone who did manual labor. I wonder how Anina and Qin Xiang would react when they see me like this. Charlotte could not help but imagine that scene. He was very curious. After leaving the studio, Charlotte walked to Anina's office. In the office, Anina was buried in work. She was already working on the production plan for the Gale assault rifle. In Charlotte's plan, when the order for the XL 2500 sniper rifle received by the Thunder Horse Army factory was 70% completed, the Gale assault rifle would enter production. At that time, the Thunder Horse Army factory would attract a new round of orders. Charlotte appeared at the door and reached out to knock on the door. Anina looked up at Charlotte. "Who are you looking for?" Charlotte did not say anything. He lifted his feet and walked in. Anina suddenly frowned. "Which workshop are you from? What do you want?" Charlotte deliberately changed his voice and at the same time lowered his voice. With a smirk on his face, he said, "Girl, let's play." Shameless. Anina reached out and grabbed the phone on the desk. She was ready to call security. Charlotte took a step forward and reached out to press the phone to prevent Anina from calling security. Anina suddenly punched Charlotte's eyes. Charlotte tilted his head and easily avoided Anina's fist. Then, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. Anina opened her mouth and bit the back of Charlotte's hand. Charlotte quickly let go. Anina suddenly kicked Xia Lei's crotch with a groin kick. Charlotte jumped back and avoided the kick. Then he smiled and said, "It's me." Anina was stunned for a moment. She opened her small mouth and said after a while, "It's you, Lucas?" Charlotte reached out and took off the human skin mask. His face was full of a proud smile. "It seems that you didn't recognize me. It's very successful." Anina took the human skin mask from Charlotte's hand and looked left and right. Then she praised, "It's so exquisite. I was fooled by you. Is this what you've been working on in the studio for the past 2 days?" Charlotte nodded. "I'll take it to Jerusalem." "You going to Jerusalem?" Anina was very surprised. Charlotte said, "Well, don't ask. After I leave, I'll leave the military factory to you and Qin Xiang." Anina said, "I know. You must have a new task. I won't ask." She smiled, "But You have to make me a human skin mask like this. Yeah, I want to become Marilyn Monroe, and I also want to become Rihanna. Charlotte was a little dizzy. Well, when I come back, I'll make you Marilyn Monroe and Rihanna. Then, Anina paused and said in a low voice, Can you accompany me tonight? Charlotte was silent for a moment and finally said, Anina, I'm engaged. We can't be like before. Before the engagement, Charlotte was single. It didn't matter if he played around. However, he was now engaged to Shinatianin. A man should have a man's responsibility and responsibility. If he continued to maintain this ambiguous relationship with Anina, what would it mean? In that case, he couldn't face Shinatianin. Some words would be very hurtful if they were said, but they had to be said sooner or later. Anina's eyes were full of sadness, but she forced a smile on her face. She shrugged and pretended to be free and easy. You're a very good man. You could have kept a secret relationship with me, but you didn't do so. I know you can't face your fiancé. Well, I respect your decision. Western women were very independent, and they were definitely more open-minded than Eastern women when it came to emotions. If it were an Eastern woman, she might have already begun to cry, throw a tantrum, and threaten to hang herself. Anina, Charlotte felt a little guilty. Don't apologize to me. You didn't do anything wrong to me. From the beginning, I was the one who took the initiative. You spent a good time with me. I'm very satisfied and grateful to you. Anina said. Charlotte was silent for a moment. I will help you realize your dream. I will. Well, give me a hug. Anina said with a smile. Charlotte hugged her in his arms. He didn't feel awkward. It was like a stone was lifted from his heart. Chapter 432. The next afternoon, Long Bing and Tang Yuan walked side by side. Both of them were tall, long-legged, and extremely good-looking women. They immediately attracted the attention of many employees of the Thunder Horse Army factory. Are these two beauties here to look for our chairman Xia? A young man said enviously. If only I could get to know one of them. I'm not greedy. I really only want one. TSK, stop daydreaming. Another young man said disdainfully. How dare you think about Chairman Xia's friend? Do you want to be fired? Our Chairman Xia is already engaged to the chairman of the Wanxiang Group, Shintatianin. These two aren't his girlfriends, right? What do you know? Our Chairman Xia has a good figure, and he has a good talent. He started with billions of assets from scratch, and he's also a kind person. What's a few more girlfriends? At this moment, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing suddenly looked over. Both women had cold faces. The two gossiping employees quickly left. What do those two guys think we are? Tang Yuyin said angrily. Shouldn't Tianin's spare tire? Long Bing, however, looked indifferent. They're just two young men gossiping. Why are you reacting so strongly? Do you really think you're Tianin's spare tire? Tang Yuyin rolled her eyes at Long Bing. I'm in a bad mood these few days. Don't provoke me. Hee hee. Long Bing walked towards Charlotte's studio. The doors and windows of Charlotte's studio were tightly shut, and they couldn't see what was going on inside. Long Bing knocked on the door. Charlotte, it's me. Open the door. The door to the studio opened, and a middle-aged man with a dark yellow complexion entered the line of sight of Long Bing and Tang Yuyin. Long Bing looked into the studio, but she didn't see Charlotte. She immediately became vigilant. Who are you? The man's expression was somewhat flustered, and he suddenly broke into a run. Tang Yuyin sent a flying kick towards the middle-aged man. Her intuition was the same as that of Long Bing. She felt that this sneaky middle-aged man was very suspicious. Tang Yuyin naturally used the Tang sex kung fu. This flying kick was clean and efficient, elegant and ferocious. However, the middle-aged man twisted his waist and dodged her thigh. Not bad. Tang Yuyin reached out to grab Charlotte's collar. The middle-aged man bent his waist and dodged again. Long Bing rushed forward in 2 steps, cutting off the middle-aged man's escape route. As she stood in front of the middle-aged man, she kicked his crotch. The middle-aged man reached out and grabbed Long Bing's long leg, lifted it up, and immediately lifted Long Bing's leg, which was aimed at his vital part, over her head. Long Bing was wearing skinny jeans. Although she wasn't exposed, her legs were separated by a man, and the tight fabric was almost torn. This was enough to make her furious. "Lie down," Long Bing shouted. She leaned back and suddenly raised her left leg, which was supporting her body, and kicked the middle-aged man's chest. The middle-aged man let go of Long Bing's right leg, twisted his waist, and his body brushed against Long Bing's left leg again. At the same time, he reached out with both hands and hugged the waist of Long Bing, who was maintaining a kicking posture in the air. His movements were faster than a flying bird, and more agile than a swimming fish. In the blink of an eye, Long Bing was still aggressive and domineering, kicking the stinky man. But in the blink of an eye, this stinky man had one hand on her waist and the other on her leg, turning her into a stunner in his arms. Tang Yuyin suddenly pulled out her gun and pointed it at the middle-aged man's head. "Don't move. Put her down." This was a contradictory order. The middle-aged man chose the latter option, and he put Long Bing down. As soon as her feet landed, Long Bing suddenly kicked the middle-aged man in between his legs. "Oh!" The middle-aged man's mouth suddenly opened wide, unable to close. Long Bing punched again. "It's me," the middle-aged man shouted. "Charlotte." Long Bing's fist stopped on Charlotte's cheek and did not go down, because she recognized Charlotte's voice. "What's going on?" Tang Yuyin put down the muzzle. She also recognized Charlotte's voice. Charlotte reached out and rubbed his cheek a few times. Soon, he took off the human skin mask, revealing a handsome face. "This." Long Bing snatched the human skin mask from Charlotte's hand. "Where did you get it?" Charlotte said, "I made it myself." Tang Yuyin also came over, looked at it carefully, and touched it a few times. Then, she shook her head. "I don't believe you made it." Charlotte shrugged. "I called you over to show you the mask I made. I don't think this trip to Jerusalem will be peaceful. The United States has a lot of power in Israel, and there's also the Mossad in Israel, which is a world-famous Secret Service organization. I think it will be much safer for the three of us to go to Jerusalem with new faces, and it will be easier for us to complete our mission." Long Bing said, "Do you mean to make a mask like this for both of us?" Charlotte said, "Yes, that's what I mean. It's so ugly, and it's a man. How can we wear it?" Tang Yuyin frowned. "Besides, Long Bing and I are both women. There are some parts that we can't cover up, right?" Charlotte's eyes couldn't help but move to Tang Yuyin's chest, and then to Long Bing's chest. Indeed, with their size, only a blind man would be able to fool them. "What are you looking at?" Long Bing said fiercely. "Do you want me to kick you again, so that Shinta Tianyin will hate me for the rest of his life?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "You're oversimplifying things. The mask I made is not something that can be mass-produced. I need to measure your faces, then modify my mold, and you can become other women." "That's it." Long Bing couldn't help but look at Tang Yuyin. "Come with me." Charlotte entered his studio. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin saw his mold. There were metal and plaster, as well as some unknown materials. The mold looked very rough, but they had to admit that Charlotte's craftsmanship was really good because they didn't recognize him just now and were fooled by him. After letting Long Bing and Tang Yuyin see his mold, Charlotte pulled a tape measure the two women's faces. He actually didn't need any ruler, and the ruler was just for show. "Sit up straight, and don't move your head. Why are you staring at me?" Charlotte pretended to measure Long Bing's face while commanding her. Sometimes he reached out to pinch her chin and twist her face. If he didn't make a mask, his behavior was really no different from a hooligan or a pervert. Long Bing was very depressed. She knew very well that Charlotte was taking revenge for the kick she gave him just now, but she couldn't find the words to stop Charlotte. After measuring Long Bing's face, Charlotte walked in front of Tang Yuyin and took a ruler to measure her face. Sometimes he would hit her, but he didn't go as far as he did with Long Bing. Tang Yuyin was a little embarrassed and nervous. "I didn't hit you, you know what I mean?" Charlotte smiled. "Okay, then I'll make your face prettier." Long Bing said hatefully, "You rascal, didn't I just kick you in that place? You're so petty. If you make my face uglier than Tang Yuyin's, I'll beat you to death." Charlotte was speechless. After measuring Long Bing's and Tang Yuyin's faces, Charlotte started to modify the mold to make it into a woman's face. After half a day, The two women's faces were considered complete. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin put on the masks that Charlotte had made for them and stood in front of the mirror that Charlotte had prepared for them. For as long as 15 seconds, it didn't move at all. Then, at the 16th second, they suddenly charged at Charlotte, leaped up at the same time, and kicked at Charlotte at the same time. They had the same long legs, the same valiant posture, the same ample breasts, and the same perky buttocks. It was a very beautiful sight. However, once one was kicked by these two legs, it would not be a joke. They were really serious. Charlotte dodged and ran away as he explained, "I'm doing this for our mission. Think about it. Beautiful women will be the center of attention wherever they go. There are even men who come to seduce them. These are all hidden dangers. If I make you guys uglier, these hidden dangers won't exist." A hammer and a wrench flew from behind and almost hit Charlotte's heel. "See you tomorrow." Charlotte didn't dare to look back and disappeared in the blink of an eye. At the entrance of the studio, Long Bing and Tang Yuyin looked at each other angrily. Not for any other reason, but because Charlotte had made their faces to the level of Sister Feng and Sister Ferron. Say, if he were to make a face for Shinda Tianin, what do you think he would make? For some reason, this question came out of Tang Yuyin's mouth. "The prettiest kind," Long Bing said with a bitter smile on her face. "Will he and Shinda Tianin get married? Go ask him." "Why are you asking me? I'm not his mother," Long Bing said angrily. Tang Yuyin pursed her lips and said, "No wonder you don't have a boyfriend. With your bad temper, who would want you?" Long Bing sneered, "You have a good temper, but didn't you still lose to Shinda Tianin?" As night fell, Shinda Tianin's room was filled with warmth. Even the air was filled with the strong smell of love. "Open your mouth." Shinda Tianin used a toothpick to feed Charlotte a grape. When Charlotte stretched his mouth out to eat it, she suddenly retracted the grape and put it in her mouth. Charlotte looked at her with a smile. Under the light, Shinda Tianin's skin was as white as jade, and she was as beautiful as a fairy. Under the loose pajamas, there was a hint of seductive spring scenery, full and majestic and hazy and mysterious. She was alluring from head to toe. How could he be dissatisfied with being teased by such a fiancée? "Open your mouth. I'm really going to feed you this time." Shinda Tianin looked very serious. Charlotte opened his mouth, but just as the grape was about to enter his mouth, it suddenly flew away and went into Shinda Tianin's cherry mouth. Suddenly, he leaned over, bit his lips, and snatched half of the grape. Shinda Tianin gave Charlotte a slap, which made him feel dizzy. Dad called back from Shaolin Temple. He said that Grandmaster Sure had given us a divination, and he said that we are a match made in heaven. He also checked the date. It's the 29th of the 12th lunar month. What do you think? Charlotte put his arm around her slender waist and said with a smile, "The date Grandmaster told me must be a good day. Let's get married on that day." Shinda Tianin put her lips next to Charlotte's ear and said in a soft voice, "I still haven't bought a condom." Her words made Charlotte feel all the bones in his body go limp. He picked up Shinda Tianin and walked to the bed. At the same time, a few hundred kilometers away, in a meditation room in Shaolin Temple, Shun Turin was wearing a smile on his face. "Grandmaster, when can I hold a grandson?" The Grandmaster counted with his fingers and said, 9 months later." Chapter 433. Ben Gurion International Airport, Jerusalem. A man and two women were dragging their suitcases to the security checkpoint. The man and two women were Charlotte, Long Bing, and Tang Yuyin from China. Charlotte was no longer handsome. He looked like an ordinary person who came to work in Jerusalem. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin also looked like middle-aged women in their early 30s. They were not beautiful at all, and could even be said to be a little ugly. Such three faces would not attract attention wherever they went. The three of them passed the security checkpoint smoothly. The passports of the three were all official forgeries, and there was no problem at all. The weapons of the three would also be sent to the three of them through special channels, and they would not appear in the suitcases. As soon as the three of them passed the security checkpoint, a middle-aged man with an Arab shield was knocked to the ground by two Israeli plainclothes men. They did not read out the charges and directly took him away. Charlotte was stunned and asked curiously, "Did that man bring anything illegal?" "Do you mean drugs?" Tang Yuyin said, "The people here are all Jewish people, and they will not touch drugs. So, even if that Arab is so poor that he is crazy, he will not sell drugs in Israel." Long Bing also said, "Those two plainclothes men are probably members of the Mossad. It is normal for them to arrest Arabs, so there is nothing strange about it. Normal Arabs who enter the customs with Arab passports will also be questioned for a few hours." Charlotte smiled bitterly and did not say anything. The war in the Middle East had been burning for thousands of years, and it had not been extinguished yet. This was a real battlefield, and they had to adapt to the tense atmosphere here. After leaving the airport, the three of them took a taxi and drove to the city of Jerusalem. Tang Yuyin understood Hebrew and exchanged a few words with the driver. Xiao Lei, on the other hand, sat quietly on the sofa in the back seat, reading a Hebrew book. On both sides of him were Long Bing and Tang Yuyin. The two women sandwiched him in the middle. Their buttocks were pressed against each other's buttocks, and thighs were pressed against each other's. Actually, any one of them could have sat in the front passenger seat, but no one did. This is a very interesting thing. "Debeo, is this how you learn Hebrew? And you can learn it?" Long Bing seemed to be dissatisfied with Charlotte's silence, so she leaned against him with her thigh. Debeo was Charlotte's nickname. The full name on his passport was Nyo Debeo. This was a rustic name, but it also matched his current appearance. He was brimming with rustic aura from head to toe. Tang Yuyin's new identity was Hu Meiwan, and Long Bing's new identity was Yang Xiaohong. They were both unsophisticated names that matched their current looks. The written reason for the three of them to come to Israel was to travel. This was a very normal reason. There were Chinese travelers all over the world. In the written relationship between the three of them, Charlotte was Tang Yuyin's husband, and Long Bing was Tang Yuyin's cousin. Therefore, Long Bing was Charlotte's sister-in-law. This kind of relationship seemed simple and normal. Yang Xiaohong asked as sister-in-law, but Nyo Debeo, brother-in-law, was still reading a book and mumbling, as if he was practicing his pronunciation. Long Bing was straightforward. She reached out and pinched Charlotte's thigh, then pinched it hard. "Ouch, you!" Charlotte stared at Long Bing gloomily, then looked at the driver in front of him and lowered his voice. "What are you doing?" "Nothing. I just want to pinch you," Long Bing said. Charlotte was speechless. Tang Yuyin also came over. "Debeo, when are you and your fiancé getting married? Why are you asking this?" Charlotte looked at her, feeling a little awkward. "Why? Can't I ask?" Charlotte smiled. "Of course I can. It's nothing. Don't worry. When the time comes, I will definitely send you an invitation to my wedding. Do you think I'll come just because you invite me?" Charlotte was speechless. "You haven't answered my question yet. When are you getting married?" Tang Yuyin asked again. It seemed that if he didn't answer her question, she would keep asking. Charlotte braced himself and said, "Tianin's father has already decided to get married on the 29th of December. "Ah, so soon?" Tang Yuyin looked very surprised, and there was an unfathomable look in her eyes. Long Bing came over to join in the fun. "She must be pregnant, right?" "You?" Charlotte was speechless. Long Bing smiled. "Debeo, I really couldn't tell that you're quite amazing." "Stop, stop, stop." Charlotte couldn't take it anymore. "Let's not talk about this, okay? I feel awkward even though I'm a man. You're women. Don't talk about being pregnant or being amazing. I'm embarrassed for you." Long Bing reached out and pinched Charlotte's thigh again. Her actions seemed to have infected Tang Yuyin. Tang Yuyin, who was in a bad mood, suddenly reached out and grabbed Charlotte's thigh, pinching it hard. Charlotte wanted to scream, but didn't dare. His expression was very interesting as he was pinched by the two women. The Israeli driver stole a glance at them in the rearview mirror and couldn't help but smile bitterly. He felt that this Chinese man was quite lucky. It was just that the two women were a little ugly. Half an hour later, the taxi entered the city of Jerusalem. Charlotte and the other two also checked into a hotel. The name of the hotel was translated into Hebrew as the Desert Spring, and the architectural style was also very classic Jaffa style. It wasn't high class, and most of the people who stayed in it were tourists from all over the world. There were very few locals. There was only one reason for choosing this hotel, and that was because the treasure hunting team sent by China was staying in this hotel. The three of them asked for 2 rooms. Charlotte and Tang Yuyin shared one room, and Long Bing had her own room. Before they set off, Sherborne had specified the disguise identities of the 3 of them. Tang Yuyin was his wife, and Long Bing was his sister-in-law. Therefore, he couldn't stay in the same room as his wife, but his sister-in-law, right? Although it was very awkward to stay in the same room as Tang Yuyin. As soon as they entered the room, Tang Yuyin threw away the suitcase in her hand and threw herself on the soft mattress. Ouch, I'm so tired. Charlotte observed the room, but he didn't find any surveillance cameras or bugs. DeBeo, come massage my shoulders. My shoulders are sore, Tang Yuyin muttered. Only then did Charlotte shift his gaze to Tang Yuyin. He found that Tang Yuyin had already taken off her coat. She was only wearing a very thin silk t-shirt, and her smooth back could be vaguely seen. There was also a black bra strap. She was wearing a pair of beige travel pants, the kind that was very close-fitting. Her perky but was full of the fabric, like a fully fermented butter bread, exuding a fragrance that was very tempting. Yeah, Charlotte didn't move, nor did he finish his sentence. What he wanted to say was that he was already engaged and was going to get married soon, so he couldn't fool around anymore. But thinking about it made him feel awkward, and he couldn't say no matter what. Tang Yuyin turned around and rolled her eyes at Charlotte. In Moscow, in that clothing store, you saw everything about me. Now that you have Tianyin, you think that I'm an eyesore, don't you? Her words were full of resentment, dissatisfaction, and jealousy. But Tang Yuyin's tone gave off a different feeling. It was as if she was Charlotte's ex-wife, and Tianyin was just Charlotte's wife. Charlotte smiled bitterly, braced himself, and walked over. He reached out and massaged Tang Yuyin. Just think of it as paying back the debt he owed in Moscow, he comforted himself. And the waist and thighs, Tang Yuyin moaned in comfort. Charlotte massaged her small waist. It was soft and slender, making it hard for people to believe that she was a woman who practiced martial arts and had amazing strength. The silk t-shirt creased under his fingers and slid up, revealing a smooth and delicate skin. There was also a black elastic band hidden in the travel pants. This elastic band reminded Charlotte of what happened in the clothing store's fitting room in Moscow. He actually had a bit of an embarrassed feeling and reaction. His hands also slid down a little, almost touching her perky butt. And the thighs massaged my thighs. Tang Yuyin continued to moan comfortably as she instructed Charlotte to change the massage spots. Charlotte used his thumb and forefinger to grab the inside of Tang Yuyin's thighs and push them up. The thigh muscles squeezed upwards, and the perky but became more and more plump. The fabric between her legs was also tightened, revealing a mature figure, mysterious and alluring. Tang Yuyin slightly adjusted the position of her head, and the corner of her eyes just happened to fall between Charlotte's legs, and then an imperceptible smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Marriage? Humph. There was a secret voice in her heart. You have to get past me first. Don't think that you're the only one who can play tricks. I can too. This kind of voice obviously could not be heard by Charlotte. He was very conflicted at the moment. I actually had that kind of feeling and reaction that I shouldn't have. It really shouldn't have. If Tianyi knew what I was doing now, she would definitely not be happy, right? Forget it. Let's just leave it like this. If I continue to massage, I might not be able to control myself and make a mistake. When faced with a beauty like Tang Yuyin lying on the bed for you to massage, unless you were a eunuch, you would have to be hard in the places that should be hard. It was unavoidable. Men will always be men, will have a reaction to watching porn, not to mention massaging a stunning beauty like Tang Yuyin. If he was seduced again, then it would be over. But when Charlotte was thinking about what reason to use to end this free service, there was a knock on the door. Brother-in-law, sister, are you asleep? It was Long Bing's voice. It's me, Little Hong. Hearing Long Bing's voice, the hidden smile on Tang Yuyin's face suddenly disappeared. Charlotte secretly breathed a sigh of relief, stopped in time, and said with a smile, Meiwan, your sister is here, I'll go open the door. Tang Yuyin said, ask her what's the matter. If there's nothing else, then get out. Charlotte's footsteps suddenly froze. This posture, should I ask the service desk for another room? After opening the door, Long Bing entered the room without saying anything. Tang Yuyin was also embarrassed to continue lying on the bed, continuing to pose with her, but up. She got up from the bed and looked at Long Bing indifferently. What's wrong? Did I disturb you? Long Bing said. She saw the blush on Tang Yuyin's cheeks and neck. She was also a woman. She knew what that reaction was. Charlotte hurriedly said, don't get me wrong, we didn't do anything. Only then did Tang Yuyin speak. What's the matter? If there's nothing else, go back to your room, I want to sleep. After saying that, she yawned, looking really sleepy. Long Bing shrugged. Do you really think you're here on vacation? Don't forget our mission. We have to find a way to contact the expert team tonight. Tang Yuyin rolled her eyes at Long Bing. Tell me, what do you want to do? I'm here to discuss with you. Long Bing's eyes moved to Charlotte. You're the leader of this operation. You decide the action plan. Charlotte thought for a moment. Let's go eat something first. Also, can you not quarrel? Chapter 434. A non-staff consultant commanding 2 official section chiefs in Innings 101. It was not difficult to see the importance the higher-ups placed on this mission. However, Charlotte, as the team leader, was having a hard time. He only had 2 team members under him, Long Bing and Tang Yuyin, who could he order do things. The incident just now was an example. As soon as he checked into the hotel, he was ordered by Tang Yuyin to give her a massage. In this kind of situation, in front of 2 stunning team members, he was lucky not to be ordered around. The 3 of them arrived at the hotel restaurant. It was dusk, and there were many guests eating in the restaurant. Tang Yuyin ordered. Charlotte observed the surrounding environment, not missing a single corner. Long Bing was doing the same thing, but she clearly could not reach Charlotte's level. When the waiter brought the food, a few female Israeli soldiers walked into the restaurant. Military uniform, plump buttocks, and an assault rifle on her back. The assault rifles made Charlotte's eyes light up because he recognized them. They were the latest TR-21 assault rifles developed by Israel's IMI company and Barrett company. They were known as the most advanced assault rifles in the world. If the Thunder Horse Military Factory's Gale assault rifle had a competitor, it would be the TR-21 assault rifle. Ever since he entered the military field and became an arms dealer, Charlotte had always paid attention to the developments in this field. The TR-21 assault rifle developed by Israel's IMI company and America's Barrett company would certainly not miss his line of sight. I wonder how much better my Gale assault rifle is compared to the TR-21 assault rifle. Charlotte thought to himself, and a smile appeared on his face. The effective range of the TR-21 assault rifle was 300 to 600 meters, with a firing rate of 700 to 900 rounds per minute and an initial bullet speed of 960 meters per second. The effective range of the Gale assault rifle was 500 to 800 meters, equivalent to a light sniper rifle. In addition, the Gale assault rifle had a firing rate of 800 to 1,000 rounds per minute, and the initial speed of the bullets flying out of the muzzle was also 1,100 meters per second. More importantly, the recoil of the Gale assault rifle was equivalent to that of a normal handgun. In fact, there was no need to compare guns. The Gale assault rifle was already miles ahead of the TR-21 assault rifle. Tang Yuyin looked at Charlotte, then followed Charlotte's gaze to look at the Israeli female soldiers. Then she frowned. Pervert, don't you feel ashamed to look at my butt? Charlotte looked away. What are you talking about? I'm looking at their guns. That's the TR-21 assault rifle jointly developed by IMI and Barrett. It's said to be the most advanced in the world. Tang Yuyin lowered her voice. Oh, I almost forgot. You're now an arms dealer. But can you say you didn't look at those girls' butts? Charlotte, he had indeed looked, but wasn't it natural for a man to look at a woman's butt? Which woman would hide her but from others when she went out? She was obviously looking for trouble. Long Bing kicked Charlotte lightly under the table and lowered her voice. There's no guarantee that there aren't people from the Mossad and the CIA here. Be careful of what you say. Don't let anyone find out. Xiaolei nodded. Let's eat, let's eat. The three of them buried their heads in their food and stopped talking, each thinking about their own things. A few minutes later, two men and a woman walked in from the entrance of the restaurant. One of the two men was in his early 40s and the other was in his 20s. The older man wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses and looked very gentle. One look, and one could tell that he was a knowledgeable person. The young man was well-built, and his eyes were alert, giving off a very dangerous vibe. The woman was in her 30s and also wore a pair of glasses. She was fair and clean and looked very gentle. She looked like a secretary or something. As soon as the three of them walked in, Charlotte locked onto them from the corner of his eye. The three of them were the members of the treasure hunting team sent by China. They were the Middle East expert, Dr. Qin Chongqing, the special agent of 101 innings, Do Yong, and the archaeologist Marie. Charlotte had memorized this person's information long before he set off. This time, the treasure hunting team sent by China was far more than these three people. The rest of them were probably still in the room. They probably came out in batches to avoid attracting attention because of the large number of people. They're here, Tang Yin said softly. They only know that someone is coming to take over the mission, but they don't know who it is. We'll slow down our eating speed. After they finish eating, we'll leave with them and give them a hint on the way. Charlotte and Long Bing nodded. Qin Chongqing, Do Yong, and Marie entered the restaurant and sat at a table near the window. The three of them ordered their food. While waiting for their food, Qin Chongqing and Marie talked in low voices. Do Yong observed the people in the restaurant. His gaze swept past Charlotte, Tang Yuyin, and Long Bing, but he didn't find anything. He just glanced at them and didn't stop. As Charlotte enjoyed the food, hummus, and pizza, he used his lips to interpret the conversation between Qin Chongqing and Marie. The liaison said that they've already sent a team to take over. I'm afraid they're already in Israel. However, that team hasn't appeared to contact us yet. It's really worrying. Qin Chongqing said, Professor Qin, don't worry. The people sent by the higher-ups must be the elites carefully selected. We'll definitely complete the mission. The reason why the team hasn't appeared is because they haven't arrived here yet. Let's wait a little longer. Please don't let anything happen to them. I've been feeling uneasy for the past 2 days. I'm always worried that something will happen. Qin Chongqing said, Professor Qin, we don't do this after all. I'm also very worried and scared, but I believe that nothing will happen to us. Marie said. At that moment, Do Yong, who had finished observing the environment, lowered his voice. You two, don't talk about sensitive things in such an environment. It's very dangerous. Qin Chongqing and Marie immediately shut their mouths. Seeing this, Charlotte understood. Qin Chongqing and Marie clearly didn't have any anti-reconnaissance ability, and their vigilance was very low. However, Special Agent Do Yong of 101 innings had a lot of experience. This was very normal. The three of them had completely different identities and professions. 10 minutes later, Qin Chongqing and the other two left the restaurant after eating. Charlotte and the other two also paid the bill and left, following closely behind Qin Chongqing and the other two. Qin Chongqing and the other two walked to the elevator and prepared to take the elevator upstairs. Charlotte quickened his pace and caught up with Qin Chongqing and the other two. When he passed by them, he said to Do Yong, ZD, take the stairs. ZD was the initials of Emperor Yongle, Zhu Di's name. The compass used for treasure hunting was made by Emperor Yongle, and the treasure hunting operation was equivalent to a continuation of the Ming Dynasty's treasure hunting operation. Therefore, ZD became the contact code for this operation. Do Yong's body stiffened slightly, but he quickly reacted and nodded his head without batting an eyelid. Qin Chongqing and Marie also heard the contact code and looked at Charlotte together. However, Charlotte had already brushed past their shoulders and walked to the stairs. Long Bing and Tang Yin followed closely behind Charlotte and entered the stairs first. The six of them climbed up the stairs one after another. When they climbed to the 6th floor, Charlotte stopped and waited for the three of them below. On the lower floors, some of the hotel's guests would choose to take the stairs, so it was not suitable for conversation. Guests on the 6th floor and above usually didn't take the stairs, so the stairs were the best place to talk. Most importantly, there were no surveillance cameras in the stairwell. As soon as Qin Changqing and the other two came up, Charlotte went straight to the point. "We're here to take over the task. Tell me, where did the compass lead us?" Qin Changqing glanced at Do Yong as if asking for his opinion. Do Yong didn't say anything. He just looked at Charlotte and the two ugly women behind him. He seemed to want to confirm the identity of the three people one last time. At this time, Long Bing reached out and took off the human skin mask on her face, revealing her real face. "Long," Do Yong almost called out, but then he closed his mouth and said, "Professor Qin, there's no problem with their identity. You can tell them." Long Bing put on the human skin mask again and tidied it up with her hands. Qin Changqing was relieved and said in a low voice, "The compass led us to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We went to the Holy Tomb of Jesus. We thought it was in the Tomb of Jesus, but it pointed to the underground. We tried to find the architectural map of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but we found that there were no underground passages or dark rooms. We can't continue in such a situation. The location of the treasure was the Tomb of Jesus, so it was impossible to continue. Who dare to go to the Tomb of Jesus and dig a hole?" Charlotte frowned slightly. "Are you sure it's under the Tomb of Jesus?" Qin Changqing said, "I'm afraid so. Although I'm not 100% sure. I'm 70% or 80% sure. In fact, we also investigated the perimeter of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but there was no result. The compass will lead us to the Tomb of Jesus. If it was somewhere else, I'm afraid we would have completed the task and returned home." Charlotte was silent for a moment. "Professor Qin, give me a copy of the architectural map of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I want to see it." "No problem. Molly, give it to him," said Qin Changqing. Molly opened her handbag, took out an envelope, and handed it to Charlotte. Charlotte didn't open it. He put the envelope in his trouser pocket. "You go back to your room first and wait for further instructions." After that, he turned and left, entering the corridor on the 6th floor. "Who is he?" Do Yong looked at Long Bing and asked tentatively. Long Bing said, "Don't ask. Go back to your room and reduce the number of times you go out." Do Yong nodded and left with Qin Changqing and Molly. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin also entered the corridor on the 6th floor and then entered Charlotte and Tang Yuyin's room. Charlotte took out the map from the envelope and spread it on a small table. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin also came over and stood on both sides of him, looking at the map. The map was very old, and there were many damaged places. The lines on it were also blurred. However, they could still get a general idea. The map was not complicated. Charlotte quickly looked away. "I can't see any clues. I believe Professor Qin and the others have studied this map hundreds of times. If there are clues, they wouldn't be so helpless." Long Bing looked at Charlotte. "What are you going to do?" Charlotte thought for a moment. "We'll stay here for one night and go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre tomorrow." Long Bing didn't move and continued to look at the map. Tang Yuyin looked at Long Bing. "Well, cousin, your room is next door." Chapter 435. Long Bing left Charlotte and Tang Yuyin's room. Not only did Tang Yuyin close the door, but she also locked it from the inside. When she locked the door, Charlotte was a little confused and inexplicably nervous. But he didn't say it out loud. He knew very well that even if he asked Tang Yuyin why she locked the door from the inside, he wouldn't get an answer, and he might even be rebuffed. Tang Yuyin turned around and took off her coat. She only wore a white silk t-shirt, and the black bra and deep cleavage could clearly be seen under the t-shirt. "You?" Charlotte wanted to say something, but the words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't find a topic to talk about. Tang Yuyin, on the other hand, appeared very natural. She untied the belt of her travel pants and pulled it down, leaving only a black lace on her lower body. Her thighs were snow white, but was full, and her abdomen was white and soft, but it also revealed the faint lines of her muscles. The beauty of strength and the beauty of a woman's delicate beauty were perfectly blended together, and it was extremely attractive. Charlotte's eyes fell on her pair of ivory-carved thighs, and he felt a little uncomfortable. Not for anything else, but because the black lace was 40% transparent. He didn't need to use his X-ray vision to see the mature and attractive scenery there. You're really a pervert. What are you looking at? What haven't you seen in Moscow? Tang Yuyan rolled her eyes at Charlotte, but she looked very natural. She wasn't shy at all, let alone embarrassed. Charlotte coughed and defended himself. You're naked like this, and you're blaming me for looking at you? Also, that time in Russia was an accident. I didn't do it on purpose. The quality of the zipper was too low. Tang Yuyan pouted. I'm going to sleep. Don't tell me you don't want me to take off my clothes. Don't forget that we're husband and wife now. When a husband and wife sleep on the bed, do we need to wear trousers and coats? Charlotte had a headache. Well, I'll sleep on the sofa. You can sleep on the bed. Aren't you going to sleep with me? A hint of disappointment flashed across Tang Yuyan's eyes. How can I do that? You sleep on the bed, and I'll sleep on the sofa, Charlotte said. Tang Yuyan's lips moved, but no words came out. Charlotte was engaged to Shinta Tianyin, and she was not willing to admit defeat. She did have the intention to seduce Charlotte and had the motive to poach Shinta Tianyin. However, she had already done it to this extent, but Charlotte still abided by the bottom line and acted like a virtuous person. She was also a proud woman, and she could no longer take the next step. Charlotte lay on the sofa and looked at the old map again. All the details of the map were actually firmly remembered by him, but he still pretended to look at it, not for anything else, but to divert his attention. Tang Yuyan climbed into bed and got under the covers. Do you love her? Charlotte knew that she was talking about Shinta Tianyin. He said, yes, if I didn't love her, why would I propose to her? We actually met 2 years ago. After some twists and turns, we're together now. We both cherish this relationship. Tang Yuyan's mouth showed a bitter smile. I can see that. In fact, if you had agreed to sleep with me just now, I would have kicked you off the bed. Would she do that? Charlotte really did not know the answer. The conversation ended here, and the room was filled with awkwardness and silence. Charlotte's gaze moved to the lampshade on the bedside table. The light from the bedside lamp had a small shadow. His left eye twitched slightly, and the next second, a micro bug stuck to the inner wall of the lampshade suddenly entered his field of vision. Charlotte's heart was nervous. He stood up and walked to the bedside. Tang Yuyan was also nervous, and her cheeks were red. She did not expect that Charlotte would suddenly change his mind and walk towards her. Charlotte gestured her to keep quiet and came to the bedside. Don't mess around. I'm not that kind of woman. If you mess around, you have to take responsibility. Tang Yuyan became more and more nervous. Charlotte suddenly reached out and covered Tang Yuyan's mouth. Tang Yuyan suddenly froze for a moment and suddenly reacted. She pulled off the quilt, revealing her big and delicate body wearing only her underwear. A soft hand was also as fast as lightning, and in a flash, it grabbed Charlotte's belt. What are you doing? Charlotte lowered his voice. Tang Yuyan's mouth was still covered by him, and she could not speak. Charlotte then reached out and took out the micro bug stuck to the inner wall of the lampshade, and then handed it to Tang Yuyan. Tang Yuyan was suddenly dumbfounded, and the hands that were tightly holding the belt also loosened. Charlotte carefully looked at the bug and felt that it was very familiar. At this time, Tang Yuyan suddenly grabbed the bug and raged at it. Dragon bitch, you dare to install a bug on my bedside table. Do you want to die? Come over here, let's fight one-on-one. The bug was not a loudspeaker, so Long Bing's voice could not be heard, but she did not respond to Tang Yuyan's anger. She definitely would not come over to fight with Tang Yuyan. Charlotte was also speechless. Long Bing would actually install a bug in his and Tang Yuyan's room. Why would she do such a thing? What did she want to eavesdrop on? Damn it, I'm going to reason with her, Tang Yuyan said as she was about to get off the bed. However, Charlotte pressed down on Tang Yuyan's shoulder. Calm down. Do you want us to be exposed? This sentence was like a pail of cold water, and it immediately woke Tang Yuyan up. Seeing that she had calmed down, Charlotte slowly let go of her shoulder. Tang Yuyan burrowed into the bed and pulled the blanket over herself tightly. She had just grabbed Charlotte's belt, and such a thing happened. How could she endure this? If there was a crack in the ground, she would definitely have burrowed into it. Charlotte said slowly, "Actually, it's nothing. I think she's just joking, testing if we will make mistakes. Stop fooling around. I'm going to sleep." Tang Yuyin continued to use the blanket to cover her head. In the room next door, Long Bing laughed silently on the bed. Don't you mess around. I'm not that kind of woman. If you mess around, you have to take responsibility." Ha ha ha. She actually had such a funny side to her. No one would have thought of such a thing. However, one thing was certain. If she and Charlotte were to stay in the same room, Tang Yuyin would also do the same. The next morning, Charlotte and Tang Yuyin went out, and Long Bing also came out of her room. Tang Yuyin glared at Long Bing fiercely, but Long Bing pretended to know nothing, and even smiled and greeted Charlotte and Tang Yuyin, "Sister, brother-in-law, good morning." Tang Yuyin continued to stare at Long Bing, and there was a strong smell of gunpowder in her eyes. Charlotte hurriedly said, "Let's go and eat something." "Okay." Long Bing shook a handbag in her hand, and when she walked to Charlotte and Tang Yuyin, she lowered her voice. "I got the things last night. After breakfast, we can go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre to have a look." Charlotte nodded slightly. He knew that what Long Bing was talking about was the Ming Dynasty compass. "Oomph." Tang Yuyin's foot landed on Long Bing's instep. "You deserve it." Long Bing just frowned and did not react. She just whispered, "I actually did it for your own good. I don't want you to make mistakes. It's good that you have withstood the test. Go to hell." Tang Yuyin wanted to step on her again. Charlotte quickly stood between the two women and separated them with his body. Then he took Tang Yuyin and Long Bing's hands. "Let's go and eat." The three walked out of the hotel and had breakfast in a small restaurant that specialized in breakfast. Then the three walked to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in the Old Town. Qin Changqing and the members of the treasure hunting team did not follow. Long Bing had instructed them to stay in the hotel and wait. On the way, Charlotte was a little worried that Tang Yuyin and Long Bing would continue to bicker and intensify the conflict. But he thought too much. It did not take long for Long Bing and Tang Yuyin to return to normal communication. Sometimes they even laughed. What happened last night would not affect the relationship between Tang Yuyin and Long Bing. After all, the two women were comrades who had gone through life and death together. They could even entrust their lives to each other on the battlefield. What was the little conflict last night? After half an hour's journey, the three arrived at the center of the old town. At a glance, they could see the world-famous Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the dome of the mosque, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Wailing Wall, and the Holy Mount of Judaism. This place, with an area of only 1 square kilometer, was revered as a holy place by the world's 3 major religions. This was a historical miracle. The story of what happened on this land could not be finished even if one were to talk about it for 1,000 days and nights. As they approached the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Long Bing opened her handbag and glanced at the mask inside. Then she said, "Indeed, this is the direction it is pointing to." Tang Yuyin said, "Let's go in and have a look." Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "Let's not go in yet. Let's walk around before we go in. If we go in now, Professor Qin and the others have already seen what we can see, and more than once." Tang Yuyin and Long Bing looked at each other and then nodded in agreement. Charlotte led the two women to walk around the streets around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Along the way, his left, I was like a camera with the ability to see through things, recording the characteristics and internal structure of all the buildings around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. In his eyes, this area was like a 3-dimensional map, and there was no place to hide secrets. Of course, this was also extremely energy-consuming. After walking around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre once, Charlotte felt tired. However, he was just tired, and there were no hallucinations. Although they were right next to Charlotte, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing had no idea what Charlotte was doing. The two female section chiefs of floors 101 also observed, but they only observed the general terrain and the pedestrians on the street. When they returned to the main entrance of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Charlotte closed his eyes. His brain presented all the buildings he had seen through. It was a real 3-dimensional architectural map, and it was not just one building, but all the buildings around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. "What are you doing?" Tang Yuyin looked at Charlotte curiously. Her voice scattered the three-dimensional map in Charlotte's brain. Charlotte opened his eyes and said, "Nothing. Let's go in and have a look." He thought to himself, after entering the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and getting the perspective structure of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, I can draw a complete three-dimensional map in my brain. Maybe then I can find the hidden treasure. Chapter 436. Entering the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, one could see the vicissitudes of history and the sacredness of religion. Devout Christians knelt in front of the red marble where the body of Jesus was once placed. They prayed and wiped the marble with their clothes. It was said that doing so could stain the blood of Jesus' crucifixion. It was a holy item that could bring good luck. There were several white holy lamps hanging on the marble, emitting light. They belonged to the Franciscans, the Greek Orthodox Church, and the Armenian sect. They were known as the Light of Life. After the people praying in front of him left, Charlotte also walked to the red marble, knelt down, and prayed devoutly. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing looked at each other, then knelt on either side of Charlotte and prayed with him. "I'm not a Christian, but I believe in your existence. If you can hear my voice, please bless my father and let him be safe. If he is guilty, please bestow the punishment on my head. In addition, please bless my sister. She is a kind girl. Please bless my fiancée, Shinta Tianin. She is also a kind woman." This kind of prayer was not the standard Christian prayer, but Charlotte's heart was indeed devout at this moment. After praying, Charlotte also took off his coat and gently wiped the spotless red marble. In the process of wiping his left eye twitched slightly. The vision of his left eye was like a sharp knife cutting through tofu, quickly penetrating the marble and then sinking down. Under the marble was a stone slab, and under the stone slab was soil. His left eye could not see very deep, so he found nothing. If there was something buried under the marble, he would definitely be able to find it. Unfortunately, there was nothing under the marble. Charlotte's gaze then moved to the handbag beside Long Bing. His left eye penetrated the handbag and saw the compass of the Ming dynasty. He also saw the direction that the needle was pointing, and the needle was shaking violently. This sign shows that the thing is hidden under this marble, but I can't see deeper. If it's really buried under here, how can I dig it out? Charlotte frowned. No one could touch this place. If it was really buried under this marble, the secret of the ancient alloy and the bronze treasure book would probably never be solved. There was also Princess Yong Mei. The secrets on her body would continue to remain hidden, difficult to unravel. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin also took off their jackets and pretended to wipe the red marble. After wiping it, Long Bing opened her handbag, glanced at it, and then closed it again. She did not speak, appearing very vigilant. The three of them left the red marble and walked out of the Holy Hall. Then, they climbed up the stairs beside the Holy Hall's door. Passing through the second floor of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the three of them continued to climb Calvary. That mountain is the place where Jesus died on the cross. It is also a holy place for Christianity. The three of them didn't go up for sightseeing, but to stand at a higher place to observe the terrain of this area. On the way, Long Bing took a look at the handbag again, then frowned and said, "The compass points to the Holy Hall we just came out of. The thing is most likely under the Holy Hall." "Is the pointer still shaking?" asked Tang Yuyin. Long Bing shook her head. "No, it's still. This means that the thing is indeed under the Holy Hall. What should we do?" Tang Yuyin also frowned. Long Bing nudged Charlotte with her elbow. "Say something. Do you have any ideas?" Charlotte said, "There's no way for the time being. If it's really buried under that marble, no one could dig it out. I don't know who buried it." Tang Yuyin was a little annoyed. He buried it under that marble, thinking that no one would dare to dig it out, right? Long Bing also said, "If that guy is still alive, I will definitely beat him up. He has brought us so much trouble." Charlotte didn't speak, but the conversation between Tang Yuyin and Long Bing touched his mind. "The Sacred Heart necklace I gave Tianyin was from the Kingdom of Jerusalem, but it eventually appeared in Princess Yongmei's jade coffin. The Kingdom of Jerusalem and the Yongle period of the Ming Dynasty, where Princess Yongmei lived, were 200 years apart in history. Princess Yongmei's mission was to find the treasure with the compass. But did she ever go to Jerusalem? Charlotte's mind was very active. Wait, I forgot a very important clue. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was built by Constantine the Great in 335 AD. It is much older than the Kingdom of Jerusalem and the Ming Dynasty. After that, who could have buried something under the stone slab where Jesus' body was placed? So, it must have been buried before 335 AD. As he did so, Xiaolei seemed to have touched something. It was an inspiration, like the feeling a writer had before he started writing. It was vague, but if he followed this inspiration, he would definitely gain something. The compass to find the feeling is from the Ming Dynasty, but the ancient alloy is not from the Ming Dynasty. Princess Yongmei went to Afghanistan to find the ancient alloy and got a piece of it. She even got the necklace of Princess Sabella of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Charlotte's mind was still active, but she died, and the body in the jade coffin was very young. Is her death also related to the ancient alloy? When this thought popped up, Xiaolei himself was shocked. This was the first time he had guessed the cause of Princess Yongmei's death. What are you thinking about? Longbing's voice interrupted Charlotte's thoughts. Of course I'm thinking about a solution, Charlotte said. Tang Yuyan said, I'm thinking, if we need a long time, what will Professor Qin and the others do? If we keep them in the hotel, they will inevitably attract some people's attention. I think we should let them stay in the embassy or go back to China. After a pause, she continued, Xiaolei, do you think they'll be of any help if we keep them around? Charlotte thought for a moment and said, I don't think we need them. Let them go back to China. Tang Yuyan nodded. Okay, I'll let them go back after we go back. What Charlotte wanted to do, whether it was to find treasure or dig for treasures, he didn't need Qin Chongqing, Ma Li, and the others. Especially when it came to treasure digging, he wouldn't even let Tang Yuyan and Long Bing participate in it, let alone those experts. Leaving them here was a hidden danger, so it was better to let them go back to China as soon as possible. Climbing to the top of Calvary, one could see the crucifix of Jesus at a glance. There were many Christians lining up to touch the hole where the crucifix had been erected. There were many people, but there was no sound. The whole scene was solemn. Charlotte didn't walk over. Instead, he stood on a rock and looked down at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the area around it. While observing these places, the three-dimensional map he had completed appeared in his mind again. He compared them one by one, looking for clues. Several Christians left the crucifix of Jesus and walked over. In the crowd, there was a tall, long-legged young woman of Chinese descent with dyed blonde hair. Her figure was extremely sexy and eye-catching, especially her pair of beautiful legs wrapped in tight jeans. They occupied 2/3 of her body and could be said to be perfect. The young woman saw Charlotte standing on the rock, and her footsteps paused slightly. Coincidentally, Charlotte also withdrew his gaze and saw her. Their gazes collided. Xiaolei was stunned for a moment, but the woman avoided his line of sight and walked with her head lowered. However, at this moment, Charlotte's gaze moved from her legs to her face, and his left eye twitched slightly. Then, his expression suddenly changed. This woman was none other than Liang Xiao. The most beautiful thing about Liang Xiao was her legs, and it was her beautiful legs that had attracted his gaze just now. He was familiar with everything about her. He had touched those legs countless times, and there was an indescribable sense of familiarity. Prompted by this sense of familiarity, he took a closer look at her face and discovered traces of her disguise. Then, his gaze penetrated the layer of human skin mask and saw her face. This process was over in almost 2 or 3 seconds, but the result left him at a loss. Why is she in Jerusalem? Such a question appeared in Charlotte's heart. Liang Xiao did not stop walking and mixed in with the group of Christians as she gradually walked away. She did not look back, but she had the same doubt in her heart. That person is clearly a stranger, but why do I feel so familiar and intimate? Why is his height and body shape so similar to him? Charlotte could make exquisite human skin masks and make his face look like someone else's, but he could not change his height or body shape. However, Liang Xiao did not have Charlotte's ability. Although she was familiar with his body, she could not see his real face. After walking for about 10 meters, Liang Xiao turned around to take a look. She found that the strange man was still looking at her, his eyes burning. Her gaze moved to the two women standing next to the man. One of them also gave her a very familiar feeling. At this moment, she seemed to think of something that made her tremble. Long Bing's gaze also fell on Liang Xiao, her eyes full of suspicion and vigilance. Liang Xiao also turned her head, quickened her pace, and never looked back again. That woman, Long Bing said. Why do I feel that she looks like someone? Charlotte asked. Like who? Long Bing shook her head again. I'm not sure. Forget it. She changed the topic. Did you find anything? Charlotte tried to drive the image of Liang Xiao out of his mind. He was silent for a moment before saying, I have a hunch that the place we are looking for is under this mountain. Tang Yuan interrupted and said, Under this mountain? Isn't that harder to dig than in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Charlotte shook his head. No, it may be much easier than you think. Long Bing and Tang Yuan looked at Charlotte and said almost at the same time, What do you mean? Charlotte said, Let's go back. I need a set of tunnel exploration equipment, rubber suits, oxygen tanks, searchlights, and so on. Get them ready for me as soon as possible. Tang Yuan and Long Bing looked at each other, but the two women looked equally confused. Chapter 437. On the street, a few police cars roared past. Charlotte glanced at the direction the police cars were heading in and suddenly had a bad feeling. That direction was the direction of the Desert Spring Hotel. Liang Xiao's appearance and the roaring police all made him feel uneasy. Tang Yuan and Long Bing seemed to have realized something as well and became nervous. It can't be that something happened to Professor Qin and the others? Long Bing said, Let's hurry over and take a look. Tang Yuan quickened her pace. A few minutes later, the three arrived at the street where the Desert Spring Hotel was located. They kept a distance and didn't go any closer. The police cars were indeed parked in front of the hotel, and all the entrances and exits of the hotel were blocked by the police. In fact, not only were there police, but there were also Israeli soldiers in military uniforms and unidentified people in plain clothes. This was a big scene. If it was to catch a normal criminal, there was no need to mobilize so many people. Long Bing frowned. The worst-case scenario is that Professor Qin and the others are discovered. The best-case scenario is that these people aren't arresting them, but someone else. What do you think? Tang Yuan touched Charlotte's waist and asked him. Charlotte was still looking at the 7th floor of the hotel. He was looking for Qin Changqing and the others' rooms. However, before he could find Qin Changqing and the others with his jade eyes, gunshots suddenly came from the hotel. Gunshots rang out, and the police and Israeli soldiers guarding the entrance of the hotel quickly rushed into the hotel. There were also a few plainclothes who followed behind the police and Israeli soldiers. They moved quickly and covered each other. Their combat skills were much better than the police and Israeli soldiers. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Could it be CIA agents? Bang, bang, bang. The gunshots in the hotel became more intense. Many people ran out of the hotel, screaming. The scene was chaotic. Crash! A glass window on the 7th floor suddenly shattered. A person fell from the window and hit a police car. The top of the police car caved in, and the windows all shattered under the impact. It was a Chinese man who was hit on the roof of the car. He was covered in blood and was dead. Charlotte and the other two's gazes fell on the Chinese man's bloodied face at almost the same time. Their hearts sank. He was Special Agent Do Yong from 101 Innings. China's treasure hunting team was in trouble. Before we came, they were fine. But when we came, something happened to them. Charlotte's face was cold. Someone betrayed us. Has our mission been exposed? Tang Yuan's face was ashen. There was an uncontrollable anger in her heart. Don't jump to conclusions so early. Long Bing appeared to be unusually calm. We have 4 agents protecting the treasure hunting team. Only one has died, and we haven't seen anyone take our people out. This matter may not necessarily have a favorable turn. These words seem to be meant to comfort Charlotte and Tang Yuyan. But neither Charlotte nor Tang Yuyan believed that there would be a favorable turn. The agents from 101 innings naturally had nothing to say. They were all iron-blooded men of China. They were not afraid of death. Even if they were arrested, they would not divulge the treasure hunting team's secret mission. But the experts were different. They were not soldiers at all, nor had they received professional training. A little torture would make them confess. Once someone confessed, the secret of the ancient alloy could not be kept. Bang, bang, bang. The gunshots in the hotel continued. Charlotte, Long Bing, and Tang Yuyan wished they could rush in to help their people fight. However, the importance of the mission was like a mountain pressing down on their hearts. They could not breathe or move. Charge in, and then what? There was no then. Even if Charlotte, Long Bing, and Tang Yuyan had the ability to fight 100 enemies alone, they would not be able to defeat the Israeli army. There was also the Mossad, one of the 4 major secret service agencies in the world. The final outcome would only be death or capture. There was no other choice. There was also another political reason. In fact, because China had provided shelter to the Jews during World War II, the Jews were a grateful people. After the war, Israel had helped China build up its national defense, and they were not stingy with some advanced technology. Until now, the relationship between the two countries was not bad. If there was no pressure from the United States, the relationship between Israel and China would be even better. Under such circumstances, how could the 3 of them rush in to fight the Israeli police and soldiers? They could not. But seeing their compatriots die in battle, the feeling was heart-wrenching and painful. The torment soon ended, and the gunshots finally stopped. Someone in the hotel lobby shouted in English, "Surrender. You have nowhere to run. This place is surrounded. All of you back off." Someone in the lobby replied in English, "Or I'll kill him." The police and Israeli soldiers in the lobby retreated, followed by the plainclothes. They were the last to go in, but they were the last to come out. It could be determined that when the battle started, they were actually at the front. Charlotte's gaze fell on a bald man holding a loudspeaker. He recognized the man at a glance. He had seen this man in Seoul, Korea. He was the person in charge of the CIB agents. In Afghanistan, Yelena had mentioned this man's identity. He was the CIB's Middle East director, Goodson. Charlotte suddenly thought of Liang Xiao. She had appeared, and Goodson had also appeared. This could not be a coincidence. Seeing Goodson, he also confirmed a terrible situation. The CIB already knew he had come to Israel and had begun their operation. Just as Charlotte was thinking about this, a young Chinese man holding a blonde man hostage walked out of the hotel. He was covered in blood and seriously injured, but his eyes were terrifying. He strangled the blonde man's neck with one arm and grabbed a pistol with the other hand. The muzzle of the pistol was pressed against the blonde man's head. "Put down the gun." Goodson launched a psychological attack. "You're injured and need treatment. Put down the gun, and we'll treat you. I promise you, no one will hurt you, and you will receive a fair trial. If you have something valuable in your hands, we can even make a deal with you. You know what I mean." On the other side, Long Bing lowered her voice. "His name is Wang Hai. He's from another team. I heard he's a very filial person. His mother." She couldn't continue. Charlotte looked at Wang Hai's face. Wang Hai's face was covered in blood, but at this moment, there was an indescribable sense of glory that touched his heart. "Brothers," Wang Hai suddenly spoke in Chinese. "You guys go first. I'll be right there. I'll bring you a message. The sheep in our village have returned to their pens." "What did you say?" Goodson obviously didn't understand Wang Hai's words, but he guessed what Wang Hai wanted to do. He shouted, "Put down your weapon. Don't be impulsive. You'll die." "Bah!" Wang Hai spat on the ground. "I'll drag a few of you down with me, even if I die." "You bang." With a gunshot, Wang Hai blew up the blonde man's head. Then he turned the gun and shot at Goodson. Unfortunately, before he could pull the trigger again, a stream of bullets flew from his side and hit his body. Blood splattered everywhere. Wang Hai fell to the ground. "Damn it!" Goodson smashed the speaker in his hand on the ground and roared, bunch of useless people. You didn't even catch one alive. Search their rooms. We must find some clues." A few plainclothes CIB agents rushed into the hotel. Then, 2 Israeli policemen carried out a body. It was also a young Chinese man, including Do Yong, who fell from the car roof, and Wang Hai, who died in battle. 3 of the 4 agents from 101 innings were dead. The last one was nowhere to be seen. "Let's go," Tang Yuyin said. "There might be a turn for the better." Charlotte knew what she was talking about. Of the 4 agents from 101 innings, 3 were dead. 1 was nowhere to be seen, and none of the treasure-hunting experts were seen. There was a possibility that the 4 agents from 101 innings had noticed something and moved the experts to a safe place in time. "Do you still remember what Wang Hai said?" Charlotte said thoughtfully. "He said that the sheep in our village have returned to the sheepfold." "Is that a hint?" Long Bing said in a low voice. "It should be. Let's leave. I'll contact our intelligence personnel and confirm the situation." The 3 of them left quickly. When they reached the corner at the end of the street, Charlotte looked back. Goodson stood at the entrance of the hotel and looked around, as if he was looking for something. A large group of Israeli soldiers were cleaning up the scene and maintaining order. Charlotte's gaze suddenly shifted to a group of onlookers on the side of the street. His gaze suddenly stopped on a woman. That woman was none other than Liang Xiao, whom he had met at Calvary Mountain. Charlotte's heart was suddenly in turmoil. Isn't Liang Xiao a CIB agent? At this time, she should be participating in the operation, but she's standing in the crowd and peeping. Has she left the CIB, or is she on a mission? If he did not ask Liang Xiao himself, he might not be able to find the answer to these questions. The 3 of them crossed the corner, and Long Bing took out her phone and made a call. She first said a complicated password and waited for the other party to confirm before she officially said, "We're in a dangerous situation and need protection. Also, I need to know the latest information." Charlotte looked at Long Bing, who was speaking. He could not hear the voice on the phone, but he could guess that the other party was arranging protection for Long Bing and the latest information. Although he was the leader of this treasure hunt, he did not have the authority to use the intelligence resources of 101 innings. Sure enough, after the call ended, Long Bing said, "We went to the intelligence station. The agent who is still alive is called Ma Jun. He was the one who moved the members of the expert team to the intelligence station. When we were at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, our intelligence station received urgent information and informed them in time. They didn't have time to report to us and immediately activated the transfer plan." Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, this is the result. Otherwise, I'm afraid our operation here would have ended early. Tang Yuyin looked at Charlotte. "You mean we still have a chance to complete the mission?" Charlotte said, "I don't know how the CIB knew that we had a team of expert team here, but I believe that even if they have some information, it's not enough to know the purpose of the expert team. Otherwise, the expert team has been here for so long. If they had taken action, they wouldn't have waited until this day. Let's stop talking. Let's go back to the intelligence station and talk." Long Bing stood by the side of the road and reached out to stop a taxi. Chapter 438. The intelligence station was located in the new district of Jerusalem. Charlotte and the other 2 got off at a place far away and walked to the intelligence station. On the surface, it looked like a Chinese-run sex toy store. Most people stayed away from this kind of store, and very few people paid attention to it, let alone go in and take a look. It had to be said that this kind of disguise was very clever. When they arrived at the intelligence station, Charlotte learned that the members of the expert team had been sent to the embassy. It was only a street away from the intelligence station. Because of the urgency of the situation, when Charlotte and the other 2 rushed here, the intelligence personnel in the intelligence station had already transferred the members of the expert team to the embassy. This was a very wise move. The embassy was equivalent to the territory of a country. The Israelis would not go in to check, let alone arrest people. With the current relationship between Israel and China, it was believed that the Israeli officials would not allow the United States to enter the China embassy to do whatever they wanted. The agent who transferred the members of the expert team to the intelligence station was called Lu Chong. He stayed and did not follow the members of the expert team into the embassy to take refuge. The reason he stayed was to describe the incident to Charlotte and the other two. We received urgent information from the intelligence station and immediately began to transfer the members of the expert team. In an underground secret room, Liu Chong recalled the scene at the time and was still very nervous. At that time, we had already discovered that there were Israeli soldiers and police nearby. There are also people from the CIB. They should be the leaders of this operation. Long Bing gritted her teeth and said in a cold voice, "Continue." Our plan was to move together, but the reality was that it was impossible. Do Yong made a decision. He and 3 other colleagues stayed to attract the attention of the CIB and the Israelis, creating a chance for me and the members of the expert team to escape. I moved to the back door of the hotel, and Do Yong and the others broke the glass of the room and fired into the sky. We escaped in time, but Liu Chong could not continue. The man of steel had tears in his eyes. "Don't be sad." Tang Yin patted Liu Chong's shoulder. "Their blood will not flow in vain. CIB, sooner or later, I will make them pay 10 times the price." Charlotte looked at a middle-aged man in the secret room and asked his question, "Mr. Chiao, did you find out who leaked our whereabouts?" The middle-aged man was called Xiao Ping, the head of the intelligence station. His rank was the same as Long Bing and Tang Yin. Xiao Ping said, "I can't find it. It will be difficult to find such a thing in the future, let alone in such a short time." Charlotte was silent. He actually thought some people, such as Mu Jianfeng, Yi, and Gu Qian. However, although these people were very suspicious, he did not dare to make a conclusion without any evidence. This was especially true for Mu Jianfeng and Yi Qian. The two of them indeed had the intention and motive to kill him. However, they were the bosses of national military enterprises. The risk of doing so is too great. The two of them would probably not dare to take such a risk. The only one left was Gu Qian. Gu Qian had just joined the CIA not long ago, and her status in Huan Nation was not high. How could she have gotten hold of such high-level confidential information? Apart from these 3 people, he couldn't think of anyone else. At this time, Xiao Ping sighed. Fortunately, our expert team members were transferred in time, and their mission was not leaked. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to resolve this peacefully. After a pause, he continued, "In this case, I suggest that you cancel the mission. I will arrange for you to return home." Tang Yuyin and Long Bing both looked at Charlotte, waiting for his opinion. Even if such a thing happened, the higher-ups wouldn't reprimand him. Continuing to carry out the mission would be very risky, but as long as Charlotte wanted to stay, they had nothing to fear and would all stay with him to carry out the mission. If he returned, he would be able to avoid danger, but the secret of the ancient alloy and the bronze book would remain unsolved. This made it difficult for Charlotte to make a choice. He thought for a moment and said, "I want to stay and carry out the mission. Mr. Zhou, can you do me a favor?" "What do you need me to do for you?" Xiao Ping asked. Charlotte said, "I need a map of the drainage system in the old city of Jerusalem." Xiao Ping was stunned for a moment. "What do you want that kind of map for?" "Of course it's useful," Charlotte said. "The older the drainage system, the better. Can you get it for me?" Xiao Ping said, "Wait a minute. I'll ask my people to see if they can do anything about it." After that, he left the secret room. "Liu Chong, go and have a rest. When the members of the expert team return home, you can also go back with them," Long Bing said. "No, Chief Long," Liu Chong said. "Let me stay and complete the mission with you. I don't want Do Yong and the others to die in vain." Long Bing glanced at Charlotte and said, "You make the decision." Charlotte said, "If you want to stay, then stay. One more person means more strength." "Thank you," Liu Chong said. Charlotte didn't say anything and just nodded. It didn't take long for Xiao Ping to return to the secret room. He went straight to the point and said, "Mr. Xia, I'm sorry. We can't get that kind of map for you. However, one of our intelligence agents' boyfriend works in the Jerusalem Museum. She often goes to the Jerusalem Museum. She said that she saw a very old map in the Archaeology Museum of the Jerusalem Museum. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is on the map, and the area is similar to the Old City of Jerusalem. It's probably the map you want. Museum? A bitter smile suddenly appeared on Charlotte's face. He had just escaped from the tiger's mouth, but now he had to go to a place like the museum. It was really not peaceful. Xiao Ping said, "Mr. Xia, I don't recommend you go to the museum to steal that map. The security facilities there are very tight. You know, this place is always in a state of war. Places like the museum are usually guarded by military police and most sad people, especially the most sad people. They are very experienced and difficult to deal with. There's no need to steal it. I just need to look at that map," Charlotte said. Xiao Ping asked, "Do you want to go now?" Charlotte said, "No, let's go tomorrow. There must be martial law outside to arrest people. It's too risky to go at this time." Xiao Ping said, "Well, I'll arrange a room for you." About a quarter of an hour later, Xiao Ping led Charlotte, Long Bing, and Tang Yin back to the ground and went to the second floor of the sex toy store. The basement was the office area of the intelligence station, and the second floor was the residential area. However, there were only 2 dormitories. Xiao Ping opened the door of one of the rooms and said, "Sorry, I have to trouble the 4 of you to live in one room. I'll live in the other room with my people." Long Bing and Tang Yuyin frowned immediately. Lu Chong then said, "I'll live in the basement just now. There's a table there. Just give me a blanket." Lu Chong didn't even dare to think about living in the same room with 2 female section chiefs. Charlotte also opened his mouth and said, "Me too." But before Charlotte finished speaking, Tang Yuyin said, "You don't have to go. Live with us." Charlotte was very embarrassed, but he couldn't say anything. Xiao Ping seemed to smell something strange and quickly said, "You go in and rest. If you need anything, just call me. Oh, by the way, your weapons have been shipped over. They're in the intelligence station. You can take them away at any time." "Not for the time being," Long Bing said. This sentence was equivalent to asking them to leave. Xiao Ping and Lu Chong tactfully left. Charlotte bit the bullet and entered the room. As soon as he entered the door, his whole body felt bad. There were sex toys everywhere in the room. There were electric tools, realistic dolls, transparent sex toys, nurses, uniforms, and so on. In short, there were all kinds of sex toys that one could think of. The most exaggerated thing was that the wall next to the bed was full of strips of silicone tools. They were of all colors and sizes, giving people a dazzling feeling. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing were also embarrassed to death. Those women's products made them blush. What made them even more embarrassed was that their brains couldn't help but associate those tools with Charlotte's body. Those imaginations were really embarrassing. "Well," Charlotte broke the awkward silence. "This place is probably a display room, right? Or it's a warehouse. What do you want to say?" Tang Yuyin said angrily. Then she lowered her voice and said, "Pervert." Charlotte awkwardly shrugged and pretended not to hear. He walked to the window, lifted the curtain a corner, and looked at the street below. A police car with its siren roared through the street. The policeman sitting in the car looked at the pedestrians and vehicles on the street with a serious expression. As he had guessed, the whole of Jerusalem was under martial law. Woo, woo, woo. Suddenly, a strange sound came from behind him. Charlotte turned around and saw Long Bing jump up from a sofa as if she had been electrocuted. There was a strip of tulle behind her that had been switched on by mistake, and it started to spin. It was a very funny thing, but Charlotte and Tang Yin couldn't laugh. The deaths of the 3 agents from the 101 Bureau weighed heavily on their hearts, as if 3 stones were weighing down on them. "Damn it!" Long Bing grabbed the thing and threw it into the corner. She said angrily, "How can people live in this place?" For the first time, Tang Yin didn't talk back to Long Bing. She sighed and said, "Bear with it. We'll stay in another place tomorrow." Charlotte said, "Tonight, you guys sleep on the bed. I'll sleep on the sofa." Tang Yuyin and Long Bing looked at each other. Although they didn't say anything, they agreed. With the 3 of them in a room, it was impossible for anything to happen. For the rest of the time, Charlotte lay on the sofa and quietly recalled everything he had seen. The buildings and streets quickly formed in his mind. His mind was like a bird flying around the old city of Jerusalem, looking for something. In the afternoon, Charlotte asked for a laptop and used Google to search for information about the Jerusalem Museum. He read them one by one and memorized them in his mind. If there was really such an ancient map in the Jerusalem Museum, he only needed to look at it once to remember it. There was no need to steal it. Therefore, going to the museum the next day wasn't difficult. The only risk was that he needed to avoid the people from the Mossad and the CIA. At night, Long Bing and Tang Yuyin slept on the bed, and Charlotte slept on the sofa. It was peaceful. However, the feeling of sleeping with two women in the same room, coupled with a room full of messy things, was also weird. That night, Charlotte had a dream. He dreamed that Shinatianin gave birth. He laughed and asked the child to call him Daddy. Then, a slipper and a pair of women's trousers hit his head. Chapter 439. Early the next morning, Charlotte led the two women out and took an ordinary taxi to the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. On the way, they would meet police cars speeding past from time to time, making the three people in the car inexplicably nervous. Lu Chang actually wanted to participate in the operation, but Charlotte refused. Charlotte asked him to stay at the intelligence station and wait for him to arrive at any time. In the car prepared for Lu Chang, there were weapons smuggled from China, 3 XL 2500 sniper rifles, and a Gale assault rifle. Charlotte had his own considerations for not letting Lu Chang participate in the museum's operation. The whereabouts of the expert group had been exposed. Lu Chang had lived in the Desert Spring Hotel for so long that the hotel surveillance cameras had already captured his appearance countless times. In this case, it would really be a very stupid decision to take Lu Chang to the museum. After getting out of the car, Charlotte and the other two entered the museum and went straight to the Archaeology Museum. The full name of the Archaeology Museum was the Samuel and Sadie Blumferman Archaeology Museum, which is a very difficult name to pronounce. Along the way, Charlotte saw surveillance cameras distributed everywhere, as well as alarm facilities and uniformed security personnel. The security level was very high. If he wanted to steal something from this place, it would probably be impossible even if he and Qin Xiang joined forces. Fortunately, he only needed to look at the old map. Entering the Archaeology Museum, a gentle girl wearing glasses greeted them and greeted Charlotte and the other two in a low voice. "It's me, follow me." This girl was the girl that Xiaoping had mentioned. Her name was Duan Ningning, and she was the one who had provided the information about the ancient map. Charlotte and the other two followed Duan Ningning into the depths of the Archaeology Museum. They did not move fast, pretending to admire the ancient relics as they walked. There were almost 6,000 relics in the Archaeology Museum. Many of them were related to religion, and behind each relic was a vicissitude of history and story. Under Duan Ningning's lead, Charlotte soon saw the ancient map. It was actually not a single map, but a combination of several maps. The materials of these maps were animal skins that had been preserved. But even so, after a long period of time, these animal skins had fused together and could not be separated. Therefore, only the topmost picture could be seen clearly. Through the bulletproof glass window, Duan Ningning whispered, "That's it. It said that it was like this when it was dug up, and it can't be separated. Fortunately, we can still see the one at the top clearly. Take a look. Is it the kind of map you want?" Charlotte had been observing the map in the display window. The map was indeed a map of the old city district of Jerusalem. It was very old, probably more than 1,000 years old. The old map showed the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but not the Dome of the Rock. This discovery gave Charlotte a general idea of the age of the map. He thought to himself, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was built by Constantine the Great in 335 AD, while the Dome of the Rock was built between 687 and 691 by the 9th Caliph, Abdul Malik. There is a difference of more than 300 years of history between the two. There is no Dome of the Rock on this map, which means that it was created not long after the construction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and is at least 1,600 years old. Tang Yuyin said, "This map is very old and very simple. It's useless." Charlotte did not say anything. His left eye was locked on the ancient map in the display window. With a slight jump, His gaze penetrated the glass window and fell on the map. The ancient animal skin disappeared little by little, revealing the content underneath. The animal skin map that was glued together could not be seen even with scientific instruments to see through and analyze it. However, Charlotte's left eye could do better than scientific instruments. His vision could remove layer after layer of coverings and see the hidden content. There were no buildings on the second map, but there were some thick black lines and annotations in Hebrew. After looking at the lines and the annotations in Hebrew, thousands of Hebrew words rushed into Charlotte's brain. At the same time, his mind was racing as he quickly compared the Hebrew words and translated them one by one. In fact, with the current ability of Charlotte's brain, he no longer needed to work hard to learn a certain unpopular language. He only needed to look at a dictionary with Chinese annotations in this language, and he could translate all the words in this language. This was an example. He did not even speak Hebrew, but as long as it was a Hebrew word or sentence, he could translate it at a glance. With the evolution of his brain, Charlotte was now equivalent to a Baidu robot translation system. There would definitely be mistakes when translating a large piece of content, and it might even give people a sense of confusion. However, when it came to short words and sentences, there was absolutely no problem. After translating the Hebrew annotations, Charlotte was excited. Found it. It's the drainage system of ancient Jerusalem. There's a drainage ditch under the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. After a pause, he thought to himself, wait, there are a total of 3 maps here. What's the content of the map at the bottom? With this thought, Charlotte's left eye looked down again and eliminated the second map. Charlotte stared at the map in the display window, looking like he was possessed. Long Bing and Tang Yuyan could not help but look at each other. The two women's eyes were full of curiosity and confusion. Hello, what did you find? Long Bing asked. Are you spacing out? It was Tang Yuyan's voice. At this moment, 2 uniformed security guards walked over, and one of them was even holding a walkie-talkie and saying something. Duan Ningning suddenly became nervous. Let's go, we've attracted attention. However, Charlotte was still standing in front of the display window, motionless. He did not even blink his eyes. At this moment, he seemed to be stuck to something and could not break free. Long Bing pushed Charlotte, but Charlotte still did not respond. It was as if he was possessed. Tang Yuyan made a prompt decision. Miss Duan, you go. We'll deal with it. Tang Yuyan's rank was much higher than Duan Ningning's, so she did not hesitate and turned to leave. The 2 security guards walked over, and one of them said in English, "What are you doing?" Long Bing replied in English, "Nothing, we're just looking at the relics." While Long Bing was blocking the 2 security guards, Tang Yuyan kicked Charlotte's heel hard and said in a low voice, "What are you doing?" Only then did Charlotte come back to his senses. He closed his eyes and shook his head gently. One of the security guards said, "Are you all from China?" Long Bing said, "Yes, we like Israel. Is there a problem?" The security guard said, "Please show us your passports." "Why?" Long Bing furrowed her brows. "No reason. It's just a routine check," the security guard said, and then urged, "Hurry up, don't cause trouble." It seemed to be a warning. Long Bing was about to take out her passport when Charlotte walked up and said with a smile, "Hello, gentlemen. Can you give it to your friend? We are all from Shanghai, China. We came from Shanghai. Do you know Shanghai?" Then he raised his voice and blurted out a nondescript Shanghai dialect. "Noam and Allah are good friends." Long Bing wanted to kick him when she heard this Shanghai dialect. It was too mushy. However, she also admired Charlotte's wit. During World War II, the Nazis in Germany persecuted the Jews. No one was willing to provide refuge for the Jews, except for China. The Jews had a settlement in Shanghai, and many Jews took refuge there. Until now, there were Jewish survivors who went to Shanghai to repay the kindness and thank the Chinese who had helped them. Charlotte mentioned Shanghai and pretended to be a Shanghainese. His purpose was obvious. Sure enough, when a security guard heard that Charlotte was from Shanghai, his face suddenly showed a smile. "Sir, I know Shanghai. My grandfather and grandmother lived in Shanghai for a while. Thank you for helping them." "Oh, it's really a coincidence," Charlotte said with a smile. "My grandparents helped a lot of Jews." My grandmother once told me that you were very poor at that time. She was a kind person. She couldn't bear to eat the eggs she took out from the chicken coop. She wanted to give them to the Jews. Your grandmother's really a great woman. The security guard who talked to Charlotte came up and gave Charlotte a grateful hug. After the hug, Charlotte said tentatively, "Sir, we were also stopped by your police on the street. They checked our IDs and asked us a lot of questions. I don't think you welcome us very much. Is that so?" The security guard who hugged Charlotte waved his hand and said apologetically, "Sir, it's not like that. It's because of an attack yesterday. The higher-ups ordered us to check the IDs of suspicious Chinese people and ask them why they are here. This is not what we Israelis want to do. What is it?" Charlotte already knew the answer. "Oh, forget it. You guys continue your tour. I'm really sorry for disturbing you." The security guard who hugged Charlotte gave his companion a look, then turned around and left. Charlotte said, "You must come to Shanghai to play." The two security guards turned around and smiled. It was a very sincere feeling. However, Xiaolei's Shanghainese was like a heavenly book to the two Israelis. Long Bing rolled her eyes at Xiaolei. "No, no, no. Gnome your head. Are you speaking in Shanghai dialect?" My back went numb from listening to him. "Have I ever heard of Shanghai dialect?" Charlotte laughed. "If I say it's Shanghainese, it's Shanghainese." Tang Yuyin said, "You're really smart." Those two security guards were obviously carrying out orders. "I'm afraid the source of this order is the CIA," Charlotte said. "Let them do what they want. We'll do our own thing. When we dig up something, we'll come and settle the score with them." Long Bing's heart skipped a beat. "What did you find?" Charlotte smiled. "Let's go. Let's get out of here. I'll tell you on the way." Just now, after he used his ability to see through the second map, he saw some more ancient and mysterious content. Perhaps even the Israeli Museum of Archaeology didn't know that content. Chapter 440. On the third animal skin map, an ancient tomb was marked. It was a triangular tomb that looked a bit like an Egyptian pyramid, but it also had features that a pyramid did not have. The size of the ancient tomb was not marked on the map. It was unknown if it was a huge ancient tomb or if it was just a very ordinary and small ancient tomb. The only thing that was certain was that its location was under the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and it was under an ancient drainage canal. 3 ancient maps. The first was a map of the surface of ancient Jerusalem. The second was a map of the underground drainage system, and the third was a map of an ancient tomb. When these 3 maps were overlapped, they looked like 3 separate and unrelated maps. However, if the animal skins were removed and only lines and annotations were left, it would be a 3-dimensional map. The ancients could not draw a 3-dimensional map with a computer, but by overlapping 3 flat maps, they achieved a similar effect. Just from this point, one could not help but respect the ancient Jews. They were indeed the smartest people in the world. If modern scientific equipment could stick together and form a complete animal skin map for analysis, Israeli archaeologists would have long excavated the tomb hidden under the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Unfortunately, only Charlotte had the ability to see the contents of the second and third maps. Walking out of the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, the sun shone on his face, making him feel warm. Charlotte's mood was like the weather. The sun was bright, the clouds were light, and the wind was light. It was extremely good, because he saw hope, the hope to crack the secret of the ancient alloy in the bronze book. The answer was likely in the ancient tomb, the tomb that Princess Yong may had never reached. Now he was only one step away from the answer. It was within his reach. How could he not be excited? "What are you laughing at?" Tang Yuyin frowned. Charlotte's behavior had been very strange during this time, and she was a woman who was very curious about him. Her mind was already filled with all kinds of questions and assumptions about Charlotte. Long Bing also stared at Charlotte, observing him. She had the same feeling as Tang Yuyin. Charlotte was a little abnormal. "Say something." Tang Yuyin was dissatisfied. "Didn't you say you would tell us something along the way? Now that we've left the museum, Long Bing and I are waiting for you to speak." Long Bing nodded. The two enemies were finally on the same side. Charlotte then said, There's indeed a very old drainage system under the old city of Jerusalem. One of the drainage ditches runs under the church of the Holy Sepulchre. So, as long as we find the entrance to the ancient drainage system, we can drill under the church of the Holy Sepulchre. Tang Yuyin was surprised. How do you know that there's an ancient drainage system under the old city of Jerusalem? Look at the map. Charlotte said. Didn't you look at the map? There's a hint there. Tang Yuyin couldn't help looking at Long Bing. Did you see the hint? Long Bing tried to recall the contents of the map, but she hadn't looked at it for a long time, and she didn't know Hebrew, so she couldn't see any hint at all. She shook her head. I didn't see it. Charlotte shrugged. Why don't you go in and look again? I'll wait for you. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing didn't move. Although they had doubts in their hearts, they couldn't think of any other way to explain it other than Charlotte's explanation. Well, let's go back. Charlotte said, I need a set of tunnel protection equipment, as well as some excavation and archaeological equipment. Help me get them as soon as possible. Tang Yuyin said, A set? You mean you'll go into the ancient drainage system alone? Charlotte said, Yes, I'll go in alone. Long Bing said flatly, That won't do. I don't trust you to go in alone. You can have Yuyin stay outside to provide support, but I must go with you to explore. Long Bing, what do you mean? Tang Yuyin's pretty face was frosty. Why don't you stay outside and Charlotte and I go in? Okay, don't quarrel, Charlotte said with a wry smile. You can go in with me, but I have to remind you that if we find an ancient tomb underground, you must stay outside and can't go in with me. As you know, this is a very dangerous thing to do. Those experts who died and went crazy are a good example. But aren't you fine? Tang Yuyin said. Charlotte couldn't explain. Long Bing said, Forget it. Let's go in first. In the afternoon, a pickup truck came to a remote section of the old city. The driver was Lu Chong. After he dropped off Charlotte and the others, he drove away. All three of them were carrying a large travel bag, like backpackers on foot. Charlotte looked around and then walked to a manhole cover on the side of the road. He used a crowbar to pry open the manhole cover, revealing the rusty iron ladder below. A musty and unpleasant smell came out of the well. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing suddenly frowned. Are you sure it's here? I don't think this drainage well has many years of history. Is it the entrance you're looking for? Tang Yuyin's eyes were full of doubt. Charlotte said, Don't ask so many questions. Come with me. After that, he climbed down the rusty iron ladder to the drainage well. Long Bing followed closely behind and went down the drain as well. Tang Yuyin was the last to go down. When she entered the drainage well, she reached out and pulled the manhole cover back, covering the drainage well again. A light stick was twisted and lit up, and the green light illuminated the drainage well. There was actually no water in the well, only some dirty things that had settled down from the sewage. The unpleasant smell was also emitted by them. Among them, there was a dead rotting rat. Disgusting. How could it die here? It's terrible. Tang Yuyin was horrified. Delicate, Long Bing said to herself. The miss of the Tang family is delicate. So what if it's a dead rat? It's not a dead person. Even if it's a dead person, haven't you killed many people? Are you afraid of dead people? Tang Yuyin really wanted to hit Long Bing's nose with her pink fist. She acted a little more reserved and feminine in order to attract Charlotte. But Long Bing was making trouble everywhere. It was really hateful. You two really quarreled from the ground to the ground. You two must have been husband and wife in your previous life, right? Charlotte said as he took out the equipment in the travel bag. There was a lot of equipment in the backpack, a set of anti-corrosion and waterproof skin clothing, a pair of outdoor waterproof boots, and a small oxygen tank, which could provide 2 hours of oxygen. In addition, there were more than a dozen things like knives, hammers, folding shovels, and so on. In addition, there was a pistol produced by the Thunder Horse Military Factory, 2 magazines, and 30 bullets in a magazine. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing did not continue their quarrel. Sometimes their quarrel was just a habit, and they would feel uncomfortable if they did not quarrel. They also untied the travel bag and took out the equipment inside one by one. Their equipment was the same as Charlotte's. Charlotte took off his clothes, leaving only a pair of briefs. His movements were smooth and natural. When he was only left with his underwear, he realized that Tang Yuyin and Long Bing were staring at him. Their eyes were also focused on the only piece of underwear he was wearing, and there was a big lump rising up from that area. Ugh. Charlotte grabbed the rubber skin clothing awkwardly and put it between his legs. Can you be a little more reserved? Uh-huh. Long Bing looked away. Tang Yuyin also turned around. But like Long Bing, her cheeks were a little red. Charlotte quickly put on the rubber skin clothing, but he was depressed to find that this rubber skin clothing was like the cycling pants of a cyclist. There was still a high lump between his legs. In the past, he always felt that his was not big enough and wanted to be bigger. But now, he wanted it to be smaller. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing also took off their clothes. The two women were only wearing bras and underwear. They were ready to put on the rubber skin clothing that belonged to them. Under the light of the glow sticks, the drainage well was suddenly a beautiful white scene. Long legs, thin waists, and full and firm breasts dazzled Charlotte. Long Bing glared at Charlotte. Have you seen enough? Don't you know how to turn around? Tang Yuyin said, he's a pervert. It's just that Shinta Tianin can't see it. Charlotte shrugged and turned around. If he wanted to see their bodies, they wouldn't be able to escape even if they hid in the bathroom. It was just that he would never tell them that. The rustling sound of clothes being put on came from behind, followed by Long Bing's voice. We're done. You can turn around. Only then did Charlotte turn around. He looked over and was immediately stunned. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin, who were wearing rubber skin clothing, were equivalent to changing their skin. Their breasts were like 4 artillery shells hanging on them. Not only were they big, but they were also very strong. The almost vertical elevation made people wonder if they would fall from their breasts and then fall into liquid milk. This was not the most exciting thing. The most exciting thing was that there was also a lump between their legs. It was a full and mysterious shape, and the indentation was particularly obvious. With just a glance, the lump that had already appeared between the stimulated man's legs seemed to have grown a lot taller. As if sensing that Charlotte was staring at them, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing said almost at the same time, You guy, where are you looking? Uh-huh. Let's go. Time waits for no man. Charlotte grabbed his backpack and walked forward with the glow stick. He didn't see that when he led the way with his back facing Tang Yuyin and Long Bing, the two women's eyes fell on his, but at the same time. As he walked, his butt vibrated up and down. It was firm and full of power, very sexy. Women attracted men because of their breasts and buttocks, while men attracted women because of their lower abdomen and buttocks. It could be seen that in the field of attracting the opposite sex, buttocks played a particularly important role. Unfortunately, Xiaolei had a male, but that was full of sexiness. Who chose this kind of rubber skin clothing? Tang Yin's mouth was slightly wet, and her eyes didn't leave Charlotte's, but when she spoke. I also want to know which bastard chose this kind of clothing. Long Bing patted Tang Yin's shoulder and said in a strange tone, Let's go, don't look anymore. That's not yours. It's Shintu Tianin's. Tang Yin, the answer to this question was actually not difficult to find, because they were bought from the purchasing department of the sex toy store. Chapter 441. As they walked along the sewer and entered the old city, there was sewage in the sewer. It was the sewage of the city, black and smelly. Charlotte was fine, but Tang Yuyin and Long Bing couldn't stand it anymore. How much longer? Tang Yuyin frowned. Are you sure this is the right way? Long Bing also said this drainage system was obviously built in recent times. How could it be an ancient drainage system? Charlotte, do you think we're going the wrong way? Charlotte looked back at the two women and said with a smile, If you can't stand it, you can go up. I'll go by myself. As he spoke, his eyes uncontrollably moved to their beautiful legs. The thick black and smelly sewage submerged their knees, and their thighs that were exposed were like lotus roots. Between the two lotus roots, there was a lotus bud that hadn't bloomed yet. It had the shape of a bud and a petal. It was very obvious and clear. Tang Yin also put her hands between her legs and said fiercely, You're such a pervert. I'll dig your eyes out if you keep looking. Long Bing was even more dramatic. She put a tactical flashlight in her hand between her legs and used the light beam from the tactical flashlight to confront Charlotte's eyes. "Let's go. We're almost there." Charlotte smiled bitterly, withdrew his gaze, and continued to lead the way. After walking for about a kilometer, Charlotte stopped. There was no sewage in this section of the sewer, and it was very dry. It was not far from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, about a kilometer away. At the end of this section of the sewer was a cement well wall. There was an iron ladder on the wall of the well, and above the iron ladder was a rusty cast iron manhole cover. There was no way out. "It really is the wrong way." Tang Yuyin looked very depressed. Charlotte took out the hammer, walked to the wall of the well, and smashed it hard. Bang! The muffled sound echoed in the sewers and traveled far away. Longbing said, "Be careful. The people outside will hear you." Charlotte said, "There's a building above us, and we are 3 meters above the ground. No one can hear us at all." Longbing didn't believe it. She bypassed Charlotte and climbed up the ladder. She crawled under the manhole cover and listened to the sounds outside. However, she did not hear anything. Then, she reached out and pushed the manhole cover up. The manhole cover was motionless, as if a mountain was pressing down on it. In fact, although there was a heavy cast iron manhole cover, Charlotte's vision had already seen the situation on the manhole cover. It was a meter-thick concrete, and no one could move the manhole cover under such conditions. Longbing's, but was on top of Charlotte's head, only 3 feet away. Her rubber skin shirt was tightly wrapped around her buttocks, as if she was wearing nothing at all. The deep cleavage and the plump dent were undisguised in his field of vision. It was extremely tempting. She clearly had no intention of seducing Charlotte, but Charlotte was so stimulated that the bump between his legs grew even higher. Tang Yuyin suddenly threw the tactical flashlight in her hand at Charlotte's eyes. Charlotte knew what she was trying to do. Without saying anything, he turned around and continued to smash the wall of the well. Bang! Bang! Bang again and again. Charlotte waved the hammer, his entire body filled with masculine power. This time, it was Tang Yuyin and Longbing's turn to be stunned. Charlotte's firm and sexy but wrapped in the rubber skin shirt, his jiggling muscles, and the part that shouldn't be jiggling but was shaking the most. All of this made the 2 female secret agents stunned, and their reactions became sluggish. The wall of the well wasn't far behind. Behind a thin layer of cement were hollow bricks. Charlotte smashed a brick with each blow of the hammer, and soon, a circular hole about a meter in diameter was formed. Behind the brick wall was dirt, very dry dirt. "Ah, I thought you were really good," Tang Yin said mischievously. "There's still no way." "I say, Comrade Charlotte, are you planning to dig a tunnel directly under the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? How long are you going to take to finish it? A year or 2? Xia Lei put down the hammer, took down the foldable military shovel hanging from his backpack, and started digging with the shovel. "You're really—" Tang Yuyin's eyes moved to Charlotte's, and she didn't continue. Longbing jumped down from the iron ladder and stood behind Charlotte, blocking Tang Yuyin's view. "Do you need my help?" Charlotte didn't look back. He continued digging and said, "No, it'll be done soon." "It'll be over soon?" Longbing thought she had misheard. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, Charlotte stabbed the shovel into the wall, and there was a hollow sound. He waved the shovel again and stabbed it hard. Boom! The earthen wall that blocked his line of sight collapsed with a loud bang, revealing a dark hole. Tang Yuyin also came over and placed the tactical flashlight in front of the hole. The bright light went straight ahead, dispelling the darkness. Behind the wall was a very old drainage ditch that was almost 2 meters high and 1.5 meters wide. The walls and the dome were made of stone, and the floor was paved with terracotta slabs. There was no sewage in the ditch, and the ground was dry. There were many black marks and residual sand on the stone slabs, which had been left there for who knew how many years. The drainage ditch went straight ahead, and there was no end in sight. Every stone brick and every stone slab exuded an ancient and vicissitude aura. Tang Yuyin stared at Charlotte with a strange look in her eyes. She was stunned for a long time before she said, "How did you know there was a passage behind this?" Yes. Longbing also came back to her senses, but she was still surprised. You seem to be able to see things behind the mud. Charlotte smiled. If I had that ability, wouldn't I be able to see your bodies at a glance if you were dressed like this? Wow. If I had that ability, wouldn't I be able to see all the beauties on the street? Ha! Puffed. A pervert is a pervert. Tang Yuyan blushed and spat. Dream on. No one in this world has that kind of ability. Charlotte stopped smiling. It's that map. The entrance is marked on it. I remembered this entrance, which is why I brought you here. If you don't believe me, you can go to the archaeology museum and look at the map again. Tang Yuyan and Long Bing looked at each other. It was still the same feeling. Their intuition told them that things couldn't be so simple, but they couldn't find any other explanation. In short, no matter how they guessed, they didn't believe that Charlotte could see what was behind the mud, and even more so, they didn't believe that Charlotte could see through their clothes. Charlotte put away the shovel and was the first to enter the ancient drainage ditch. Long Bing and Tang Yuyan followed Charlotte into the drainage ditch. Although they had a lot of questions in their stomach, it wasn't the time to get to the bottom of it. Walking in front of the two women, Charlotte quietly pondered a question in his heart. If they knew that I have X-ray vision and can see through their clothes, how would they react? Would they beat me up? In fact, he had done so a long time ago, but he wouldn't tell anyone. After walking along the ancient drainage for about a kilometer, Charlotte stopped and said, Long Bing, take out the compass. We're almost there. Long Bing took out the Ming Dynasty compass from her travel bag and held it in her hand. The needle of the compass trembled violently, the same reaction it had yesterday in the sanctuary of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Charlotte glanced at it and said excitedly, It's here. We're here. Tang Yuyan looked up at the dome of the ancient drainage ditch and said, Do you mean that we're already under the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Charlotte nodded. Yes. To be precise, we're standing under the marble where the body of Jesus was placed. Long Bing looked down at the slate under her feet and said, Is the place we're looking for under our feet? Charlotte said, It's under our feet. Let's do it. We have to dig the ditch. The three untied their backpacks and used their own tools to pry open the slate of the drainage ditch. There was 3 layers of soil between the slate. This ancient cement was still strong after more than 1,000 years. Shovels, hammers, and crowbars smashed it. Sparks flew, and the sound was deafening. However, the direction of the drainage ditch was sloping downward. At this position, it was at least a vertical drop of more than 10 meters from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre on the ground. The people above could not hear the sound at all. Smashing, prying, and shaking. All kinds of shaking. Charlotte had Charlotte shaking. Tang Yuyan and Long Bing also had their shaking. Their shaking was several streets ahead of Charlotte's, and it was far more beautiful than Charlotte's shaking. Therefore, in Charlotte's eyes, Tang Yuyan and Long Bing's chests were swaying and trembling. The feeling made people worry that their chests would fall to the ground and roll far away like a ball. There was also their buttocks. Every movement of their buttocks would bring about an electric shock. Like fine ripples, they moved down or up layer by layer. And between their legs, the trembling was very small, but it was not inaudible, especially in his eyes. When men and women work together, work is not tiring. This old saying really made sense. He did not know if it was because they liked the strange outfit, or for some other reason. Long Bing and Tang Yuyan did not say anything this time. But when they worked, their eyes kept moving around Charlotte's body. They pried open the stone slab and dug the ground. A pit was pushed down little by the 3 of them. The soil on both sides of the pit was piled higher and higher. 2 hours later, a pit about 2 meters deep was formed, but they had not dug to the bottom yet. How much longer do we have to dig? Tang Yuyan frowned. If we dig any more, we won't be able to move the soil to the surface. Long Bing also threw the shovel in her hand on the ground in frustration and sat down on the soil. I'm hungry. Let's take a break and eat something before we dig. Charlotte said, You go up first. I'll come back up after a while. Tang Yuyan looked at the vertical pit above their heads and thought for a moment. It's so high we can't climb up. You can be a stool for us. Ah. Charlotte's expression was very exaggerated. You're the young lady of the Tang sect. This pit is only 2 meters high. You can't climb up? Nonsense. If I can climb up, do you think I need you to be a stool? Before Charlotte agreed, Tang Yin pressed down on Charlotte's shoulder and wanted to climb on him. Okay, I'll be a stool for you. Charlotte did not want to be entangled with her, so he squatted down. Tang Yin climbed on Charlotte's back, but it was not a climbing posture. Instead, it was a riding posture. She used her legs to clamp Charlotte's waist and said, "Help me up." Long Bing climbed up from the ground, jumped, and then stood on Charlotte's butt. But before she could reach out and grab the edge of the pit, Charlotte staggered and fell to the ground. The three of them suddenly fell into a ball. I'm on top of you. You're on top of me. You're using your legs to clamp my waist, and I'm using my head to push your chest. There was one more person in the pit. Chapter 442. Tang Yin and Long Bing sat by the pit, eating while watching Charlotte, who continued to dig in the pit. Charlotte's, but also became the focus of their attention. Men wearing this kind of pants are really ugly, Tang Yin said in disgust while eating an energy bar. Long Bing said lightly, even if it's ugly, it's not yours. Tang Yin bit half of the energy bar and looked at Long Bing with fierce eyes. At this time, a muffled sound suddenly came from the pit. Tang Yin and Long Bing's eyes then turned to the pit, and they saw a brown slate under Charlotte's feet. Although it was not completely exposed, it was easy to distinguish from the soil under the illumination of the light sticks. Charlotte used a shovel to dig a few times, and the whole slate was exposed. He said excitedly, "Found it! The thing should be down there." "What's down there?" Tang Yin's voice was full of surprise. "Is it an ancient tomb down there?" Long Bing's voice was full of surprise. Charlotte looked up at the two women and said, "It might be an ancient tomb. Give me the rock swelling agent in my bag. I want to open it." Long Bing quickly found a can of rock swelling agent and threw it to Charlotte. Tang Yin said, "Do you want us to help?" Charlotte said, "No need. It will be done soon." Xiaolei used a hammer and a steel drill used for digging graves to punch holes in the gaps between the stone slabs. There was no such thing as cement in that era, and the space between the slate was still filled with ternary soil. This special clay was very hard and had a certain strength, but it was not as strong as cement. It didn't take long for him to make 4 holes on the 4 sides of the slate, and then he injected the rock swelling agent into the holes. When the rock swelling agent came into contact with the air, it quickly produced a chemical reaction. Cracking sounds could be heard from the cracks of the slate. Under the effect of the expansion, the slate began to loosen and move upwards. Finally, when the swelling force reached its limit, the stone slab was lifted out of the horizontal plane. Xiaolei used the iron drill to pry twice, and the stone slab was moved away. Beneath the stone slab was a pitch-black space, and a musty and stuffy smell permeated the air. Not knowing if it was poisonous, Charlotte followed him out of the cave. Tang Yin and Long Bing couldn't wait any longer and jumped into the pit. Tang Yin moved the tactical flashlight in her hand to the entrance of the cave and shone it down. Below the cave was a stone passageway that extended underground at a 45-degree angle. The tunnel was very long, and with a 45-degree incline, Tang Yin's tactical flashlight could not illuminate the end of the tunnel. Long Bing took out the oil storage tank of a Ganoderma lighter, lit it up, and threw it into the stone tunnel. The flame was quickly extinguished. There was no oxygen in the stone tunnel. This phenomenon was very normal. This ancient tomb was built under an ancient drainage, so it must have been sealed very well. Otherwise, it would have been submerged by the water in the drainage. "You guys wait for me up there. I'll go in and take a look," said Charlotte. Long Bing said worriedly, "There's no air down there. It's very dangerous for you to go down alone." "Yes," said Tang Yin. "Let's go with you. That way, we could take care of you." Charlotte shook his head. "No way. There's no oxygen down there. I can solve the problem with an oxygen tank. However, that thing has the ability to kill and make people crazy. So, you guys can't go in with me. Just wait for me outside." But Longbing wanted to say something, but stopped. Charlotte smiled. Don't worry. I'll be fine. In Afghanistan, didn't I dig up an ancient tomb and bring out ancient alloy? Although I don't know why I'm fine. You guys are different from me. I can't take risks. That's settled. I'll go down first. A few minutes later, Charlotte put on all his equipment and entered the tunnel through the gap in the stone slab. He walked down the tunnel with a tactical flashlight. Charlotte, be careful. It was Tang Yuyin's voice. Charlotte turned around and saw Tang Yuyin and Longbing at the gap. He saw their worried expressions and the indentations between their legs that were outlined by the rubber skin shirt. This was a strange feeling for him. He smiled bitterly and didn't say anything. He just waved his hand and continued forward. Going down, Charlotte walked for about 50 meters before he reached the end of the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel was a stone door. It was larger than the stone door of Princess Yongmei's tomb. Xiaolei approached the stone door and activated his X-ray ability to see through the stone door. This time, his vision went through the stone door and didn't encounter the glue that blocked his vision. The glue was actually a group of large bats in Princess Yongmei's tomb. They would bite human flesh and were very fierce. However, he didn't encounter them this time. There was no oxygen here, so the bats couldn't survive. The tomb behind the stone door was an absolutely dark space. Although Charlotte's vision went through the stone door, all he could see was darkness. After adapting to the darkness, he could only see some blurry images based on the size of the objects, such as pillars and sarcophagi. After a few observations, Charlotte took out the stone blasting unit and stuck it to the four corners of the stone door. He then retreated to a safe distance and detonated the blasting unit. After a few loud noises, the stone door collapsed. Dust billowed up and filled the tunnel. Xiaolei was wearing an oxygen mask, but he could still feel the strong wind blowing on his face. After the stone door fell to the ground, Charlotte came to the entrance of the tomb with a tactical flashlight. With the experience of exploring Princess Yongmei's tomb last time, he learned to see through the ground first to make sure there were no traps before entering. The space of this ancient tomb was larger than that of Princess Yongmei's tomb, but the furnishings were much simpler. There were no jewels or jade chests, nor were there exquisite porcelain. There were only 4 stone statues that looked very rough. They looked like ancient warriors, wearing armor and holding swords and shields. Behind the 4 warrior statues was a stone altar, and on the altar was a sarcophagus. This couldn't compare to Princess Yongmei's tomb, which was a jade sarcophagus. In the entire tomb, apart from the 4 rough statues, there was only 1 sarcophagus. This made Charlotte's search easier. Also, the compass in his hand pointed at the sarcophagus and vibrated at an extreme frequency. Charlotte stepped onto the altar and saw through the sarcophagus. After making sure there was no danger, he opened the sarcophagus. There was a well-preserved male body in the sarcophagus. The skin even looked elastic, which was the same situation as Princess Yongmei's. The man looked to be in his 60s or 70s, slightly chubby, with thick blonde hair and a beard. He was also wearing clothes made of silk and cotton. The style of the clothes was very simple, and he couldn't tell which era it was from. There was only one small thing in the sarcophagus, a black pointer. There's another treasure spot? Charlotte frowned. The discovery of a new pointer meant there was another treasure spot. Changing the pointer on the compass would lead to a new direction and lead to the next treasure spot. Although it was a bit of a headache, Charlotte put the new pointer away. Then, he pried open the man's mouth and took out a piece of ancient alloy. It was very strange. Last time in Afghanistan, after he took out the ancient alloy from Princess Yongmei's mouth, the princess's body had immediately turned into powder, and even her bones had turned to powder. This time, however, the man's body was perfectly fine. There was no sign of it at all. Huh? Charlotte was surprised. What's going on? Charlotte awakened the ability of his left eye and took a deep look at the body. His scalp went numb when he saw through it. There were several pieces of ancient alloy hidden in the man's stomach. No wonder the man's body didn't decay when he took out the ancient alloy from the man's mouth. Who was this old man when he was alive? Charlotte's mind became active. Princess Young may only had one piece of ancient alloy on her body, but this man had one in his mouth and four in his stomach. He must have had five. Looking at him, he didn't have a crown or a scepter, so he couldn't have been a king. But this tomb is hidden under the church of the Holy Sepulchre, in the same place as where Jesus' body was placed. Could he be Jesus? When this thought popped up, Xiaolei himself was shocked. Then he rejected this extremely bold guess. In the Bible, Jesus was resurrected 3 days after his death, and there was no body of Jesus in this world. After thinking about it, Charlotte couldn't guess the old man's identity. But one thing was for sure, and that was the old man's existence was older than the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. He could be a person from 300 AD or even BC. Finally, Charlotte took off the old man's clothes and prepared to cut his abdomen open. However, the strange patterns on the old man's chest shocked him so much that he couldn't move. Those patterns weren't tattoos, but were drawn with some kind of paint or blood. Even after more than 1,000 years, they were still clear and complete. There were bats flapping their wings, a square box, a burning black flame, and an arched stone door. Charlotte's eyes fell on the box, and he couldn't look away. He had always suspected that the parts of the ancient alloy would be combined into a box, and now his guess had been confirmed. From the patterns on the box, he saw the same lines as the ancient alloy parts, and the size and overall shape of the individual parts matched. Then his eyes moved to the bat, and he understood. No wonder I didn't find these patterns when I saw through the old man's body. They were drawn with the bat's blood, and that bat has a special ability that makes it immune to my X-ray vision. Then his eyes moved to the arched door, but he was confused. What is this arched door? Is the pattern on the old man's body some kind of hint? The mysterious bat, the mysterious box, and the mysterious arched door. What was the connection between these three? If all the ancient alloy parts were gathered and put together into a complete box, what would it bring? These questions deeply troubled Charlotte. He thought hard but couldn't find an answer. A few minutes later, he cut the old man's abdomen with a knife. The sharp and cold blade cut open the old man's flesh, but no blood flowed out. The white flesh was as soft as cheese, and there was no resistance. There was no sound in the tomb, but Charlotte seemed to hear someone whispering in a dark corner, as if they were cursing him. After cutting open the old man's abdomen, Charlotte resisted the nausea and took out the 4 pieces of ancient alloy parts from the old man's stomach. As soon as the 4 pieces of ancient alloy parts left the body, the old man's body instantly weathered, and the clothes on his body turned into a pile of ashes in the blink of an eye. Charlotte didn't leave the tomb immediately. Instead, he locked his left eye on one of the ancient alloy parts and jumped lightly. Chapter 443. The ancient alloy didn't move, but Charlotte's eyes seemed to have fallen into an endless whirlpool. Cold and inexplicable fear followed by darkness. He felt as if he had fallen into a dark abyss, sealed in ice and unable to move. He was familiar with this feeling. Every time he looked through the ancient alloy, it would bring him the same feeling. It was uncomfortable, and he couldn't get used to it. 2 minutes later, Charlotte's vision returned to normal. There was another special existence in the ancient tomb chamber. He was once again shocked on the spot. The one who suddenly appeared in the ancient tomb was not an old man, nor was it some other creature. It was Princess Yongmei. She had skin as smooth as ice and as white as jade. She had a face that looked like it had been carved on a jade plate. Her body was full of curves, and there wasn't a single part of her that wasn't seductive. However, Charlotte knew that she didn't exist. She wasn't real. Xiaolei looked at the ashes in the sarcophagus, and then looked at Princess Yongmei standing in front of him. He was stunned for a long time before he said, "Why is it you and not him?" He had experienced the same thing in the ancient tomb of White Horse Tomorrow City in Afghanistan. He had taken the ancient alloy from Princess Yongmei's mouth, and then she had appeared. Now, he had taken out the ancient alloy from the old man's mouth and seen through it. It should have been the old man who had appeared, but it was still Princess Yongmei. "I'll remember your face." Princess Yongmei still used this opening line. As soon as she opened her mouth, Charlotte had a headache. He smiled bitterly and said, I know you remember my face. I also know that you've been waiting for me for a long time, right? They're all dead, Princess Yongmei said. Clang! Charlotte felt as if a gong had been struck in his head, and he was dumbfounded. Princess Yongmei said something that she had never said before. They're all dead, Princess Yongmei repeated. Charlotte came back to his senses. Who are you talking about? What else do you know? Tell me everything. At that moment, he had a feeling that the Princess Yongmei that appeared here might be more complete than the Princess Yongmei that appeared in China. Perhaps she had a stronger ability to communicate. Sure enough, Princess Yongmei stared blankly at Charlotte and said something different. Take me home. Where? Where is your home? Charlotte's voice was trembling. He thought of the imperial palace of the Ming dynasty, the Forbidden City. The world-famous imperial city was built by her father, Zhu Di. Princess Yongmei didn't answer Charlotte's question. Instead, she walked towards Charlotte and said softly, I'm so cold, so cold. Charlotte subconsciously took a step back, but it was only one step before he stopped. Princess Yongmei was not his enemy. He knew this better than anyone else. In Baoding, Princess Yongmei even destroyed the brains of Landsbig and Agent Hank because the CIB people beat him up. Later on, the two of them died prematurely. She was not an enemy, and she did not even have a real body, so there was no point in avoiding her. He was also curious about what she would do. Just as Charlotte's heart was filled with curiosity, Princess Yongmei walked to his side and slowly approached his body. Finally, she snuggled into his arms. At this time, Charlotte didn't know if Princess Yongmei was a little warmer, but it was cold on his side. Princess Yongmei did not have a real body, and she was a form of energy. But this energy was extremely cold. She snuggled into his arms, and he felt like he was holding a can of liquid ammonia in a freezer. Tell me. Duo. Charlotte couldn't control his teeth. Tell me who died. Who is this old man? Why are you looking for these medals? A series of questions, and Charlotte wanted to know the answer to every one of them. They're all dead, Princess Yongmei said as she snuggled into Charlotte's arms. Princess Yongmei seemed to feel better. She was especially docile, like a cat. Tell me, Charlotte urged. I want to go home, Princess Yongmei said. Charlotte didn't give up. He repeated his question a few more times, but the answer was always the same. The flame of hope that had been ignited was extinguished again. The Princess Yongmei that appeared here seemed more complete, but not absolutely complete. She could speak more and act more humanely, but it was far from enough. Charlotte was not in the mood to continue asking her questions because he was almost frozen. He moved his gaze to a piece of ancient alloy and awakened the ability of his left eye. Princess Yongmei had disappeared, the same situation as Princess Yongmei in China. Charlotte stood quietly in the tomb for 2 minutes, then put the 5 pieces of ancient alloy into a special anti-radiation container and left the tomb. Charlotte, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing's voices came from the entrance. They were very excited and anxious, and they shone the light from their tactical flashlights. Facing the light, Charlotte quickened his pace. It's really him, he's out, Tang Yuyin said excitedly. Long Bing couldn't wait to reach her upper body through the opening of the stone slab. She reached out a hand, ready to pull Charlotte up. Charlotte grabbed Long Bing's hand and climbed out. As soon as he climbed out, he sat down in the pit, looking very tired. The continuous use of X-ray vision was one reason, and the other reason was that Princess Yongmei had warmed his body for a while. The bone-chilling cold had affected his muscles and nerves, and he hadn't recovered yet. Long Bing reached out to take off the oxygen mask on Charlotte's face, as well as the oxygen tank and backpack. She said with concern, "Your body is so cold. Is it very cold down there?" Charlotte took a deep breath, and when he calmed down, he said, "It's very cold down there. We've got what we need. Let's get out of here." "Got it? What did you find?" Tang Yuyin asked. She gently rubbed against Charlotte's hand, bringing warmth to him. Charlotte didn't hide anything. "A new pointer and 5 pieces of ancient alloy. Other than that, there's nothing else. This ancient tomb is very large. Isn't there even a treasure? Tang Yuyin was unwilling to give up. Charlotte said, I don't know whose tomb it is. There's no corpse, and there are only 4 stone statues in the chamber. If you don't believe me, you can go in and have a look. I'm not going. Tang Yuyin looked at Xia Lei, suddenly revealing a sly smile. Don't tell me you're hiding gems and agate or something. I'm going to search you. Charlotte spread his arms and feet and put on a very generous look. If you want to search me, then search me. There were no gems, but there were 2 walnuts. He didn't know if she dared to touch them. In the end, Tang Yuyin didn't search Charlotte's body. She said it as a joke to help Charlotte relax his nerves. After a short rest, Charlotte climbed up the pit with the help of the 2 girls. The 3 threw the useless tools into the pit and then went back the way they came. The sound of their footsteps echoed in the ancient drainage ditch, spreading far and wide. I really want to see the ancient alloy you dug out, Tang Yuyin said. Longbing didn't say anything, but she was also curious. In fact, the 2 girls also had a common question that they wanted to know the answer to. That was, why was Charlotte the only one who was not poisoned by the metal, didn't go crazy and didn't die, but once the others came into contact with it, they either died or went crazy? Charlotte seemed to feel something. He thought for a moment and said, I know you're very curious, not only about the ancient alloy, but also about why I'm fine. In fact, I don't know what's going on, and I also want to know the answer. If you really want an explanation, I think it's probably because I fixed the compass. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin couldn't help but look at each other. They didn't say anything, but they had the same question in their hearts. Was that really the case? However, they couldn't find any other explanation other than this one. The way back was very smooth, and there were no accidents. The 3 returned to the drainage well, took off their rubber skin clothes, and put on the clothes they left in the well. During this process, Charlotte once again had a feast. This time, Tang Yuyin didn't blame Charlotte. Instead, she said gracefully, Charlotte, can I ask you a question? What question? Charlotte looked at her long legs and smiled. If you want to ask, just ask. Tang Yuyin said, well, what size underwear does Shinatianin wear? Charlotte, if you get married, how will the property be distributed and managed? Will Rema Group and Wanxiang Group merge? Charlotte, even Charlotte didn't worry about such a problem. Why should she worry? Longbing called Lu Chong with the satellite phone. A few minutes later, the sound of a car braking came from above, followed by 3 knocks. This was the signal for Lu Chong to be in position. Charlotte was the first to climb up and reach out to push the cast iron cover up. The cover was lifted to the side. Charlotte, Tang Yuyin, and Long Bing climbed out of the drainage well one after another and got into the car. Lu Chong closed the cover, got into the driver's seat, turned on the engine, and drove away. What's the new situation? Long Bing asked. Lu Chong said, the members of the expert team have left through a safe channel. The Israeli side asked the embassy to explain the identity of the 3 colleagues. The response from the embassy was unclear. We have no agents operating in Israel. Such a response was not surprising. The United States would not recognize the identity of Landsberger and the others, and China would not recognize the identity of Do Yong and the others. This was the world of agents. For the interests of the country, even the last glory could be abandoned. We also have to go back as soon as possible. Charlotte said, it's not safe here. The things in my bag are too important. We can't let anything go wrong. Long Bing nodded. Go back to the intelligence station and immediately arrange the route and tools to go back to China. As soon as Long Bing's voice fell, a truck dragging a container suddenly appeared at the intersection in front of them. It suddenly appeared at a very fast speed, but when it was about to pass the intersection, it abruptly braked and stopped. Chapter 444. The container truck stopped, and almost at the same time, Lu Chong turned the steering wheel. The pickup truck also turned horizontally on the road and straightened its body. Then, he downshifted and stepped on the accelerator, speeding in the opposite direction. The door of the container truck opened, and some armed men in black combat uniforms jumped out of the container and quickly took their positions. They didn't have any nationality symbols on them, and they were dressed the same as the U.S. Special Forces soldiers they encountered in Afghanistan. These Special Forces soldiers didn't open fire, but just blocked the exit of the road. Charlotte suddenly thought of something and shouted, "Get off this road!" Before Lu Chang could respond, several Humvees appeared across the road, carrying armed men in black combat uniforms. The Humvee at the front also had a heavy machine gun, and the machine gunner was already in position. Lu Chang was very clear about Charlotte's intentions. There was no chance of survival in a fight on the road. He turned the steering wheel and stepped on the accelerator, and the pickup truck rushed out of the road and crashed into the woods on the side of the road. Bang, 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 gunshots rang out. The armed men clearly didn't want to give Charlotte and the others any chance to escape. The bullets hit the trees and the car on the side of the road. Sawdust flew everywhere, and bullet holes appeared on the car. Before the car stopped, Tang Yuyin and Charlotte had already opened the door and jumped out. Charlotte grabbed the large military bag under the sofa in the back seat and jumped out of the car behind Long Bing. His body rolled on the ground, but his hand was still dragging the large military bag. He didn't stop until he rolled under a tree. Crash! Charlotte opened the large military bag, grabbed an XL 2500, and threw it at Tang Yuyin on the other side. Long Bing rushed over. Without waiting for Charlotte to take the gun for her, she reached out and grabbed the XL 2500 sniper rifle that Charlotte had modified for her. The large military bag also contained an XL 2500 sniper rifle, which was Charlotte's own super sniper rifle with a range of 3,400 meters. However, this time he didn't choose the XL 2500 sniper rifle. He reached out and grabbed the Gale assault rifle. Short to medium range combat was where the Gale assault rifle came in handy. Holding the gun in his hand, Charlotte did not shoot immediately. Instead, he looked behind the forest. The area of the forest was not large, and behind it was an Israeli residential area. This was a very bad situation. Every Israeli was a soldier, and almost every household had a weapon. Even if they passed through the forest and entered the residential area of the Israelis, it would be terrible if they thought they were enemies. "Charlotte, take the things and leave. We'll bring up the rear for you." Long Bing's voice was filled with determination. Tang Yuyin and Lu Chang did not speak, but from their expressions, they seemed to have acquiesced to Long Bing's proposal. "Are you kidding me? You guys go. I'll cover your retreat," Charlotte said. He was convinced that those armed men were U.S. Special Forces and CIB agents. These people would not take his life, but they would not hesitate to kill Long Bing, Tang Yuyin, and Lu Chang. "Without you, who would do that kind of research? Get out!" Long Bing roared at Charlotte. Charlotte froze. He didn't expect Long Bing to be so determined, even if she wanted to die. He could not resist. But at this moment, a woman's voice suddenly came from the right. "Charlotte, I know it's you. Surrender, and you won't be hurt. I promise you, as long as you surrender, your companions will not be harmed, and they can even leave." This voice was too familiar. It was Gu Qian's voice. From the daughter of a top family in China to the assistant of a former opponent, and then to a CIB agent, her life trajectory was like a roller coaster, full of ups and downs and rapid turns. It was difficult for people to adapt. "It's that bitch. I'll kill her," Long Bing said hatefully. She looked in the direction of the voice. Gu Qian had indeed appeared. She was standing on the road, but there was a bulletproof shield in front of her. In fact, it wasn't just her. Many armed forces were holding bulletproof shields and advancing slowly. Obviously, after fighting with Charlotte so many times, the CIB was afraid of him and his guns. Even the elite agents and special forces who had been through hundreds of battles had to advance with bulletproof shields, not giving him a chance to snipe. After shooting the car, the armed forces from both sides didn't fire again. They only carefully advanced toward Charlotte's position. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing didn't dare to fire rashly, because if they did, the bullets from both sides would be enough to tear this fragile position apart. Not to mention the firepower of dozens of armed forces, just the heavy machine gun on the Humvee was enough to destroy this forest. In the face of such a formation, what was the point of calculating how many targets could be killed? Fear, tension, and depression enveloped the forest. As time passed, the situation became more and more disadvantageous for Charlotte and the others. "What are you waiting for?" Long Bing said fiercely. "Do you want to die with us? I told you to go, so go. Don't let our sacrifice become worthless. Go." Tang Yuyin also roared at Charlotte. Charlotte suddenly pointed the Gale assault rifle at his own head. "You three go now, or I'll kill myself." "You?" Long Bing was so angry that she was trembling. Tang Yuyin smiled bitterly. "Okay, let's rush out of this forest together. Life and death are up to fate." Charlotte only thought for a second before he nodded and roared, "Go!" Then he suddenly raised the Gale assault rifle and pulled the trigger at the left side of Gu Qian. Bang, bang, bang. The cartridge bounced and the bullets flew. Under rapid firing mode, the Gale assault rifle didn't have any obvious tremors. Its performance was superior and the best in the world. However, no matter how powerful it was only one gun. It couldn't turn the situation around. Da-da-da, bang, bang, bang. The armed men on both sides also opened fire. Their targets were indeed Tang Yuyin, Long Bing, and Lu Chong. They almost didn't shoot at Charlotte. Bullets rained down. With chips, leaves, and mud flew everywhere like a storm. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing shot and ran at the same time. Behind them, bullets flew nonstop. Dong, dong, dong. The heavy machine guns mounted on the Humvee also began to fire. Wherever the bullets rained down, the trees were all destroyed and broken. Lu Chong, who was running at the back, couldn't escape this wave of shooting. A machine gun bullet pierced his back, instantly tearing it apart. He fell into a pool of blood and couldn't get up again. The heavy machine gun fired wildly and the trees fell in pieces. Charlotte and the other two rushed to the edge of the forest, but there was still an open space. Only by crossing this open space could they be considered to have avoided the first disaster. "Long Bing, if I die, help me take care of my sister," Charlotte said. Long Bing coldly said, "If you want to take care of her yourself. I will die in front of you. Go." Tang Yuyin pushed Charlotte and pushed him out of the forest. "What are you doing?" Charlotte turned around. Bang, bang, bang. Tang Yuyin fired 3 shots with the pistol, and all 3 bullets hit the ground in front of Charlotte. "I want you to remember me for the rest of your life. You owe me for the rest of your life." A bitter smile appeared on Tang Yuyin's mouth. Charlotte knew what she wanted to do. She wanted to use her life to buy time for him to escape. In the face of such affection, at this moment, Charlotte even had the urge to hold her in his arms. However, he did not do so, nor did he leave. He could not abandon Tang Yuyin and Long Bing at this time. He could not do such a thing. "I'll say it one last time, the two of you leave. I'll stay, didn't you hear me? They won't kill me. As long as I surrender, they will even let you go." Charlotte once again pointed the gun at his head. "If you don't leave, I will immediately kill myself." Long Bing's eyes were suddenly filled with tears, and in the blink of an eye, the tears turned into tears and rolled down from the corner of her eyes. This was also the first time she had cried since she met Charlotte. Boom, 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 boom. An Apache helicopter suddenly flew over from the other side of the residential area, blocking the last escape route for Charlotte and the other two. In fact, even if Charlotte, Tang Yuyin, and Long Bing did not waste these 10 seconds, they would not be able to pass through the open space. This was a meticulously arranged trap, an inescapable net, and now it was time to pull in the net. "Charlotte, stop struggling. It's useless," Gu Qian's voice said. "You are indeed very cunning. You can change your appearance, but you can't change your body. Also, don't you know that ever since you entered Jerusalem, there has been a spy satellite in the sky searching for your traces, and there are also 5 global hawks looking for you? It's not bad for you to live to this point." This was a subtle sarcasm. In the woods, armed men with bulletproof shields appeared and slowly advanced. Charlotte shouted loudly, "Gu Qian, I surrender. Let them go." "Huh?" Gu Qian sneered. "Charlotte, will there also be a day when you are at the end of the road? When you harmed my father and my brother, did you ever think that you would end up like this? I will go with you, Charlotte said. Don't beg her, Tang Yin said decisively. If we die together. Yes, you won't be lonely on the road to hell, Long Bing said. Even if we go to hell, we will still be together. Gu Qian's voice sounded. You have no conditions to negotiate. I said to let them go just now, but that was just now. It's different now. You can choose one of them to leave alive, and the other one will die. Charlotte's heart was suddenly filled with a monstrous rage. He was already prepared to surrender, but Gu Qian still used this method to play with him. Choose between Long Bing and Tang Yuyan to live? Her heart was really vicious to the extreme. I will give you 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if you still do not choose, they will all die. Gu Qian counted down through the speaker. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 5 seconds, whoosh. A missile suddenly flew from a building in an Israeli residential area towards the Apache helicopter hovering in the air. Boom! The missile exploded, and the Apache helicopter was instantly blown into pieces. The propellers separated from the shattered body and flew towards the woods, causing a large area of the canopy to fall to the ground. Whoosh! Another rocket flew from another direction in the residential area and then exploded in the woods. It was a powerful anti-infantry rocket. As soon as it exploded, it ignited a large area of flames, burning the air and releasing shrapnel, instantly toppling a large group of armed men. No one expected such a change to occur. Go! There was no time to think about who would help at such a critical moment. Charlotte roared, turned around, and ran towards the residential area. Tang Yuyan and Long Bing also ran. Chapter 445. An Apache helicopter was gone just like that, along with more than a dozen elite Special Forces soldiers who were armed to the teeth. Some suffocated to death, some were burned to death, and some were blown to pieces. Gu Qian would never have dreamt of such a turn of events. Chase! We must catch him! Gu Qian crawled up from the ground and roared like a madman. She was about to catch Charlotte and toy with him in the palm of her hand, but in the blink of an eye, he ran away again. She couldn't accept such an outcome. She desperately wanted revenge and also wanted to make a contribution to the CIB. Under Gu Qian's command, the Special Forces soldiers rushed out of the forest and chased after Charlotte and the other two. Gunshots rang out and bullets whizzed over their heads. Charlotte threw Tang Yuyan and Long Bing to the ground. As soon as their bodies touched the ground, a few bullets pierced into the grass a few meters in front of them. Dirt flew everywhere. Charlotte got up from Tang Yuyan and Long Bing's bodies and turned around to shoot. The Gale assault rifle roared and shells flew everywhere, but there was no obvious vibration from the gun. A few Special Forces soldiers at the front were instantly thrown to the ground, each of them dead with a headshot. These Special Forces soldiers were all wearing bulletproof vests, so Charlotte couldn't shoot their bodies at all. In his hands, the Gale assault rifle was equivalent to a weaker version of the XL 2500 sniper rifle. Although the range and power were much smaller, the rate of fire was much faster. Coupled with its almost negligible recoil, it was simply the king of rifles born for assault. Bang bang. Tang Yuyan and Long Bing also fired. 2 bullets hit 2 targets. One was shot in the head, and the other was shot through the chest. Both died very quickly. Although the Special Forces soldiers were wearing bulletproof vests, they couldn't defend against sniper rifle bullets. The Special Forces soldiers didn't seem to expect Charlotte and the other two to have the guts to fight back. Moreover, each shot was fatal, and there were signs of panic. Some people lay on the ground and didn't dare to show their heads. Some even turned back to pick up the bulletproof shield they had just discarded. With the shield in their hands, they could not run fast. Bang, bang, bang. Charlotte fired a few more shots, but these shots did not hit the target. It was purely to continue pressuring the enemy. After a few bullets were fired, he shouted, "Go!" Tang Yuyan and Long Bing also got up from the grass and continued to run towards the Israeli residential area. In the distance, police sirens were wailing. In the sky, 2 predators circled in the air. The enemy was increasing their reinforcements. Charlotte and the other two had just escaped, but the situation became tense again in the blink of an eye. There was no need to guess. At this moment, Jerusalem was probably under martial law. Checkpoints had been set up at every intersection, and an inescapable net had been laid down. All that was left was to catch the culprit. Who helped us just now? Long Bing asked as they ran. Charlotte had actually been searching for the person who had helped him in the dark, but unfortunately, he did not see him. However, although he did not see who helped them, who else could it be other than his father, Xia Changhe? Who else could it be? Could it be someone from Hamas? Charlotte said. Hamas. Long Bing frowned. Can someone from Hamas hide in an Israeli residential area? She obviously didn't believe that. Charlotte bit the bullet and said, Don't underestimate Hamas. It's not the first time they've attacked Israel. They can do anything. Tang Yuyin said, Who cares who they are? Are you going to write them a thank you letter after finding out their identity? These words were obviously directed at Long Bing. Even at such a critical moment, she did not forget to scold Long Bing. This was really a kind of habitual tit for tat. Long Bing glared at Tang Yuyin and did not say anything. Instead, she threw a military bag on her shoulder to Charlotte. Take your sniper rifle. You can use it later when you're away. Charlotte reached out and grabbed the military bag. He did not slow down and continued to run toward the Israeli residential area. At this moment, his gaze suddenly moved to the roof of a small Western-style building. A man wearing a black robe and a wide-brimmed Jewish hat appeared in his sight. The man was tall and sturdy. His face was covered with a veil, and his face could not be seen. However, Charlotte still recognized him at a glance. The man was his father, Xia Changhe. Xia Changhe appeared, raised his right hand, and pointed at the house under his feet. Then, he disappeared from Charlotte's sight. Charlotte could not help but smile bitterly. He thought to himself, My father is probably the craziest father in the world, right? He guessed that Yelena was probably nearby, but she did not show herself. He also knew what Xia Changhe's gesture meant. His father was pointing him to an escape route. Go to that house. After Xia Changhe disappeared, Charlotte pointed at the house. With Xia Changhe's identity, he definitely could not meet Long Bing and Tang Yuyin. Why? Long Bing followed Charlotte and asked the question in her mind. Don't ask. I saw the person helping us. He will definitely escape too. There must be a chance to escape there. Charlotte increased his speed. This explanation was very reasonable. The three of them entered the Israeli residential area. The situation that they were worried about did not happen. Due to the intense battle, all the doors and windows of the houses were closed, and there was not a single pedestrian on the streets. Some Israelis hid behind the windows and looked around. When Charlotte glanced at them, they hid as well. They did not dare to look Charlotte in the eye, let alone shoot. Boom, boom, boom. Another Apache helicopter flew over from the other side of the residential area. Without waiting for them to get close, it activated its machine gun from a distance of at least 2 kilometers. The barrel of the machine gun turned, and bullets that were comparable to cannonballs rained down. 2 deep grooves appeared on the cement road on the ground. The green belt on the side of the road was like withered grass in a hurricane. It was directly smashed into pieces and flew into the sky. Charlotte took a few steps and left the ground, hiding behind a wall. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing's reactions were also extremely fast. Before the machine gun's firepower could get close, they also left and hid beside Charlotte. Just as the three of them left the road, an intact section of the street was instantly shot full of holes. The Apache attack helicopter lost its target and rose in altitude, hovering at a higher altitude. It's trying to hold us back. Long Bing's face was filled with anxiety. Can we go around it? Tang Yuyin was also very anxious, because a large group of Israeli soldiers had appeared from the direction they came from. No, that's too slow. They just want to hold us back. Charlotte carried the Gale assault rifle on his back, opened the large military bag, and pulled out his XL 2500 sniper rifle. You're not thinking of using a sniper rifle to fight against the Apache helicopter, are you? Long Bing said in disbelief. Charlotte had already rushed over the wall, raising his gun and aiming at the Apache helicopter in the sky. The people on the Apache helicopter also saw Charlotte. They lowered the nose of the helicopter, preparing to fire at Charlotte again. Bang! The XL 2500 sniper rifle in Charlotte's hands roared, and a bullet flew out. 2 seconds later, a hole suddenly appeared in the cockpit of the Apache helicopter that had just fired its cannon. The pilot's head immediately exploded, and blood dyed the broken cockpit red. Charlotte rolled to the side to avoid it, and dozens of rounds of cannon fire sent countless pieces of cement flying on the road. The Apache helicopter in the sky suddenly fell to the ground, and a few seconds later, there was a burst of fire about 3 kilometers away. The violent explosion shook almost all the windows in the residential area, and some of the windows even shattered. At this time, Charlotte was already on the road again, rushing toward the bungalow. He really did it unbelievable. Long Bing pursed her lips and ran in the direction of Charlotte. Tang Yuyin ran side by side with Long Bing. She was not looking at the bungalow, nor was she looking at the U.S. Special Forces and Israeli soldiers who were chasing after them. Instead, she was looking at Charlotte's buttocks. She suddenly felt that Charlotte's buttocks might be the sexiest buttocks in the world. For a man to win over a woman's heart, he did not necessarily need to be rich. It could also be like this, turning the tide in a hail of bullets. 2 minutes later, Charlotte's group of 3 arrived at the bungalow where Xia Changhe had appeared. The door was wide open, and there was no one inside. After rushing into the house, Charlotte saw the military explosive device hidden in the dark. Based on the amount of explosives he found, forget this bungalow, even a movie theater would be flattened. Other than the military explosive device, Charlotte also saw the entrance to an underground tunnel. It was under the carpet in the living room. The carpet had been lifted up, and the wooden boards covering the tunnel were also open, waiting for him to enter. This, Long Bing said in surprise. Why are they helping us? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's probably it. Don't worry about it. You guys go in first, I'll cover you. Charlotte said. No, we have to go together. Tang Yuyin said decisively. Bang, bang, bang. Gunshots came from outside the house, and a few windows were shattered. Charlotte suddenly kicked Tang Yuyin's buttocks. Go in. This kick hit the center of the buttocks, the most fleshy part. It did not hurt much, but Charlotte's strength was great. Before Tang Yuyin could react, she staggered into the entrance of the tunnel. Charlotte looked at Long Bing. I'll go in myself, Long Bing said, and jumped into the entrance of the tunnel. Charlotte glanced at an explosive device hidden under the coffee table. There was an electronic timer on it, and it showed that there were still 5 minutes left. This was the reason why Charlotte had to stay behind to cover their retreat. If he, Tang Yuyin, and Long Bing entered the tunnel together, and the pursuers found the entrance of the tunnel, they would definitely enter the tunnel to continue their pursuit. However, if he was blown to death in battle, it would be a trap to confuse the other party. Even if the pursuers found the tunnel in the end, he, Tang Yuyin, and Long Bing would probably have moved to a safe place by then. Why aren't you coming down? Long Bing urged. Charlotte said, for minutes. You guys stay here. Wait for me for 4 minutes. You. Long Bing wanted to say something, but stopped. She was very anxious. Charlotte moved to the window and aimed his gun at a Special Forces soldier. Behind the Special Forces soldier was a large group of Israeli and American Special Forces soldiers. Not only did they come from the direction they came from, but they also came from another direction. This place was completely surrounded. Chapter 446. A 2-story bungalow was surrounded. On the street and on the roofs of the neighboring houses were Israeli soldiers, as well as American Special Forces and CIB agents. Now, even if a bird wanted to escape from here, it would be impossible for it to do so. Gu Qin appeared, as well as the CIB's Middle East director, Goodson. Didn't you say you could persuade Charlotte to surrender? Goodson's face was gloomy. I trusted you and gave you command, but Charlotte is still fighting. Don't you owe me an explanation? Gu Qin said, someone's helping them. Otherwise, Charlotte would have been captured by us a long time ago. I don't need excuses. Goodson pointed to the bungalow that was surrounded and said, Charlotte is inside. I'll give you one more chance. Tell him to come out and surrender. Mr. Goodson, you. Gu Qin was hesitant. Goodson frowned. What? You don't want to carry out my orders? No, I'll go. Gu Qin bit the bullet and nodded. Then, she walked toward the bungalow. At this moment, her heart was filled with regret and sorrow. She knew very well that she was no longer of any value. That was why Goodson had asked her to get in touch with Charlotte. As for her, she could be killed by Charlotte at any time. Once the cunning hare was killed, the hound would be cooked. This sentence was perfect for her. However, even though she knew that she was being used as cannon fodder, she had to bite the bullet and complete this almost impossible task. If Charlotte had wanted to surrender, he would have done so in the woods. He wouldn't have waited until now. Gu Qin walked very slowly. As she walked, she thought about how to convince Charlotte. Goodson looked at Gu Qin, who was walking slowly toward the bungalow, and a cruel sneer appeared on his face. Do you think I'll keep a woman like you, who will sell everything in the CIB? Stop dreaming. Let Charlotte vent his anger on you. Then, I'll take Charlotte away. That's the perfect ending. Charlotte. Gu Qin approached the bungalow and finally said, Don't be silly. Come out and surrender. You are surrounded. There is no way to escape. Come out, and I promise no one will hurt you. Under the wall, next to the window of the bungalow, Xia Lei looked at Gu Qin. At this time, as long as he stuck his XL 2500 sniper rifle out of the window, he would be able to kill Gu Qin with one shot. However, when he wanted to do so, there was a trace of resistance and melancholy in the depths of his heart. This was not mercy. Gu Qin had participated in the kidnapping of Tianyin and the operation against the team of experts. So many of his compatriots had died. Just based on these crimes, she could not forgive him. He was hesitant because he had just seen the conversation between Gu Qin and Goodson. Goodson wanted to use him to get rid of Gu Qin. If he did that, wouldn't he be playing into Goodson's hands? There must be a reason why Goodson wants to get rid of Gu Qin. But what is it? Charlotte guessed. Gu Qin's voice came again. Charlotte, you don't have time to think. Come out and surrender. I promise you that nothing will happen to you. Those two women will also live. Charlotte looked back at the explosive device hidden under the coffee table. It showed that there were still 4 minutes left. Then, he saw two beautiful heads popping out from the entrance of the tunnel. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing also saw the explosive device hidden under the coffee table. The two women immediately understood Charlotte's plan. Gu Qin. Charlotte looked away and said in a low voice, You are just a dog raised by the CIB. You are not qualified to negotiate with me. Let Goodson come and talk to me. I am here on his behalf. Gu Qin's voice was heard. If you have any requests, just tell me. My request is for Goodson to come and talk to me, Charlotte said. On the street, Gu Qin turned around and looked at Goodson, who was hiding behind a group of agents. She spread her hands. Mr. Goodson, he wants to talk to you. Goodson didn't move. His face was gloomy. Charlotte said, Tell him that if he doesn't come and talk to me, I will fight until I die. I have a bomb on me. I can blow myself up at any time. If that happens, he won't even get his body. Gu Qin relayed Charlotte's words to Goodson. Cover me. Goodson finally made a decision. The CIB's goal was to catch Charlotte. If he couldn't even get his body, even Goodson wouldn't be able to answer to the higher-ups of the CIB. There was a great risk in negotiating with Charlotte, but he had to take this risk. A group of CIB agents covered Goodson as he approached the bungalow. They acted as a human wall for Goodson. I'm here. What conditions do you have? Tell me. Goodson said loudly. Charlotte said, My condition is very simple. Let my companions go. Let them go. I will only surrender after I receive a letter saying that they are safe. No problem. I can agree. Goodson secretly let out a sigh of relief. Let them come out. What did you say? I can't hear you. Charlotte's voice was very irritated. You're too far away from me. You're not sincere at all. Come closer and talk. Show yourself, and I will come back. Goodson said warily. Charlotte appeared from the window. One man and one gun, surrounded, but he had a very strong aura. Gu Qin seemed to have sensed something, and her expression became strange. She quietly retreated until she was behind the group of agents, and then continued to retreat. Goodson and the group of agents didn't notice Gu Qian's strange behavior, but didn't escape Charlotte's eyes. Gu Qian is indeed a very cunning person. She must have sensed something. She sensed something, but she didn't point it out. Does she want Goodson to die and take his place? If that's the case, she is really a very dangerous woman. No wonder Goodson wanted to use me to kill her. At that moment, Charlotte thought of many things. Then Goodson said loudly, "Charlotte, I have shown my sincerity. Let your companions come out. Then you'll come with us." "Okay, give me a minute. I want to talk to them." Charlotte disappeared from the window. As soon as he left the window, Charlotte jumped into the tunnel. In the tunnel, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing supported Charlotte at the same time. "Go. The bomb will explode in a minute," Charlotte said as he ran. He didn't stop for a second. The tunnel wasn't very wide, but it was enough for a person to run. With Charlotte in front, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing in the back, the three of them ran quickly. Xia Changhe should have escaped through this tunnel, but Charlotte wasn't worried at all that he would meet his father in the tunnel. After a few encounters, his evaluation of his father, Xia Changhe, was that he was more powerful and experienced than Long Bing and Tang Yuyin. After all, his father, Xia Changhe, was someone who was being hunted by the CIA and the FA organization all over the world, but he was still alive. 1 minute passed in the blink of an eye. "Charlotte," Goodson urged, "are you done? I don't have much patience." No one answered in the room. Goodson turned around and saw Gu Qian. Gu Qian had retreated at least a dozen meters away, and she had a strange smile on her face. "You!" Goodson suddenly realized something. He suddenly became nervous and yelled, "Get out of here!" Boom! As soon as Goodson's voice trailed off, before he and the CIA agent protecting him could react, the bungalow exploded. The violent blast wave carried a high temperature of 100 degrees, and countless fragments engulfed Goodson and the agent protecting him like a storm. Although Gu Qian had retreated far enough, she was still thrown to the ground by the blast wave. Rumble, another series of explosions. The originally intact bungalow was razed to the ground, and the surrounding buildings were also severely damaged beyond recognition. When the terrifying explosion subsided, Gu Qian's fingers moved, and she opened her eyes. Her body was pierced by several fragments, and she was in excruciating pain, but a strange smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Charlotte, we will meet again." In the tunnel, mud and sand fell down, giving people a feeling that it could collapse at any time, making them nervous. "I don't know who designed this, but I have to admit that the person is very smart. He planned everything," Long Bing said emotionally. Charlotte couldn't help but think of his father, Xia Changhe, and he smiled. A son would usually look up to his father as a role model. Now, he was proud of his father, Xia Changhe. "Are Goodson and Gu Qian dead?" It was Tang Yuyin's voice. In her heart, there was a kind of pleasure of revenge. Charlotte didn't stop walking. "I believe Goodson is dead, but Gu Qian, didn't the explosion kill her?" Tang Yuyin looked surprised. Charlotte said, "She's very cunning." "When I said I needed a minute to talk to you, she seemed to have sensed something and retreated. I reckon that she will escape this calamity." "Damn it, that bitch, why didn't you shoot her?" Tang Yuyin said angrily. "When she came over, you had many opportunities to kill her." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "It's not that I didn't want to kill her, but I felt it was a little strange at the time. I thought Goodson wanted to use me to kill her, so I was a little hesitant. Later, I wanted to use her mouth to get Goodson to come over, so I didn't shoot her. Originally, I thought that she and Goodson would die in the explosion anyway, so there was no need to shoot her. I didn't expect her to sense that there was a bomb in the house. That bitch is really lucky. She will definitely be a big problem in the future," Tang Yuyin said. "Wait." Long Bing seemed to have thought of something. "You said she sensed that there was a bomb in the house, but why didn't she remind Goodson? If she had, Goodson and the other agents would have had time to leave." Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, "Why would she remind Goodson if he wanted her dead? I think she probably has another goal, and that is to replace him." The CIB's Middle East and Asia directors are all dead, so she had a chance to replace them. Forget it. Let's not talk about that bitch. Long Bing was a little depressed. She changed the topic. Where does this tunnel lead to? Charlotte said, I don't know, but I think we should be fine. It will be very difficult for the CIB to find the tunnel. By the time they find it, we will already be very far away. But at this moment, Tang Yuyin, who was walking behind Charlotte, suddenly raised her foot and kicked Charlotte's butt. She didn't use much strength in this kick, but there was still a footprint on Charlotte's pants. What are you doing? Charlotte turned around and looked at Tang Yuyin speechlessly. Tang Yuyin suddenly slapped Charlotte's butt again. You kicked my butt, and I'm returning it to you now. Oh, that slap just now was the interest. Charlotte was speechless. Chapter 447. The exit of the tunnel wasn't outside the Israeli residential area. It was a sewer, and it was a sewer that was still in use. Thick, black sewage flowed in the sewer, accompanied by a strong stench that made people frown. Entering the sewer, the three moved in the direction of the sewage flow, and they moved quickly. Charlotte looked up from time to see the situation on the ground. Half an hour later, he stopped in front of a sewer well. He saw the traces of sewage on the iron ladder. The marks were still fresh, which meant that someone had climbed up here not long ago. Charlotte looked up and saw a family above him. There were few houses and a yard. Other than an off-road vehicle, he didn't see anyone. Let's go up. Charlotte grabbed the iron ladder and climbed up. Wait, Tang Yuyin said. Do you know what place is up there? If we climb up rashly and get surrounded again, we won't have a chance to escape. Charlotte didn't explain but reached out and pushed open the iron manhole cover. Light poured down. In the sewer, Long Bing and Tang Yuyin covered their eyes with their hands. There was a difference between the light from the glow stick and natural light, and they needed time to get used to it. But just as they covered their eyes, Charlotte's sexy but had already left their sight and climbed up. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin also climbed up. Even if there were enemies up there, they wouldn't let Charlotte fight alone. The yard was quiet. The doors and windows of the houses were also closed, and no one could be seen inside. Charlotte looked around and found that this place was outside the old city of Jerusalem. It was a wasteland, and there were no other houses nearby. Combined with the traces he saw in the sewer, this place was clearly a safe house left by his father, Xia Changhe. Charlotte looked up at the sky again and suddenly remembered something. He ran to the roof and said, Don't stand there. Gu Qian said that the CIB used spy satellites this time. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing also ran under the eaves. Charlotte pushed open a door. Behind the door was a bedroom. There was a bed, a wardrobe, and a dressing table. There were many cosmetics on the dressing table. I'm going to faint. Whose room is this? Tang Yuyin blushed. She even spat on the floor as she spoke. Charlotte followed her line of sight and saw two female sex toys on the bedside table, and they were both transparent silicone products. Long Bing also saw the two things, and her brows furrowed. Charlotte suddenly smiled. He walked over quickly and grabbed the two silicone devices in his hands. He chuckled and said, Good stuff, really good stuff. Disgusting. Tang Yuyin's face became redder. Do you believe that I will tell Shinda Tianin that you are a pervert after we go back? Charlotte walked in front of Tang Yuyin and Long Bing. He shook one of the silicone devices in front of the two women. I want to use it on you. Tang Yuyin was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Long Bing was also stunned. She couldn't believe that Charlotte would say such a thing. Moreover, he did it in front of Tang Yuyin. Was this a hint to have sex with something? This was too disgusting and too greedy. Charlotte smiled and said, What are you thinking? I'm telling the truth. Tang Yuyin suddenly punched Charlotte's heart with her pink fist, and Long Bing also hooked her foot between Charlotte's legs. He was the one who wanted to enjoy the happiness of having two wives and kill two birds with one stone. Charlotte didn't retreat. Instead, he blocked the two silicone devices in his hands, one for his hands and one for his feet. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing then dodged as if they were avoiding the plague. They were afraid of being touched by the things in Charlotte's hands. Charlotte said, I'm telling the truth. I'm not kidding. You go play with Long Bing. I won't do it with you, Tang Yuyin said with a red face. She cursed Charlotte 1,000 times in her heart. Long Bing's face couldn't stop blushing, and she couldn't speak clearly. Don't even think about it. I won't use that thing. Tang Yuyin suddenly looked at Long Bing with a strange look. Did this mean that if he didn't use it, she would do it with Charlotte? Long Bing suddenly came to her senses. She said fiercely, "Be ****, that's not what I meant." Xiaolei shrugged his shoulders. What kind of nonsense are you guys thinking? What I mean is, I want to melt these two things and change what we are now. In this way, we can drive away. Our appearance will be different, and the chance of being discovered will be much lower. You, Tang Yuyin. Long Bing. The two women looked at each other, feeling extremely embarrassed. The main ingredient of the human skin mask that Charlotte made was silicone. He could melt the silicone to make the face fatter, and he could also change the features of the nose, chin, and forehead. Most importantly, he could also use the makeup on the makeup table to change the skin color. With these materials, he could change his, Tang Yuyin's, and Long Bing's faces beyond recognition. In this way, even if they met people searching on the road, the risk of being discovered would be very low. Charlotte went straight to the kitchen, put the two silicone utensils into a stainless steel utensil, and then heated it up with a liquefied gas stove. During the heating process, he also added some makeup to blend the color of the materials. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing stood at the kitchen door and watched. I'm going to take a shower. You can do whatever you want. Tang Yuyin took off the human skin mask on her face. Well, I'm also going to take a shower. You can do whatever you want. Long Bing also left. When they came out of the chest drain, the three of them were stinky. Charlotte could still tolerate it, but the two women had already had enough. Hurry up, you only have 5 minutes, said Charlotte. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin turned around and left. Charlotte returned to the room with the melted materials, and then he used the makeup tools to change the features of the 3 human skin masks. It wasn't complicated. If he wanted to make the forehead of a human skin mask higher, he just needed to fill the forehead with more materials. It was very simple to pad the bridge of the nose, add fat to the cheeks, and lengthen the chin. While Charlotte was changing the human skin masks, Long Bing and Tang Yuyin were taking a shower in the bathroom of the room, not far from each other. 5 minutes passed quickly. Charlotte had already changed the 3 human skin masks, but Long Bing and Tang Yuyin were still in the bathroom. Are you done? We're running out of time, urged Charlotte. Tang Yuyin's voice came from the bathroom. Charlotte, can you see if there are any suitable women's clothes in the closet? Our clothes got dirty in the drain, and I don't want to wear them anymore. I also want a set, preferably with underwear. It was Long Bing's voice. Charlotte shook his head with a bitter smile. He opened the closet. The closet was full of clothes. Not to mention 2 sets. He could even get 5 sets. The woman who owned these clothes had a figure similar to Long Bing and Tang Yuyin. He quickly picked out 2 sets of clothes that looked very ordinary, and then he found a bra, underwear, and socks from the bedside table. He came to the bathroom door with a lot of clothes, and then he kicked the bathroom door. The bathroom door opened a gap, and a snow-white arm stretched out from behind the door. It was Tang Yuyin's arm. She deliberately avoided Charlotte, but a snow-white long leg and a small waist were still exposed from the gap, and it was extremely tempting. Charlotte didn't have any bad intentions, but this kind of spring scenery immediately tempted him. His left eye twitched slightly, and the atomized glass became transparent. Behind the door, 2 female secret agents were dressed in snow white. The mountains were high, the water was low, and the grass was faint. They had the same height, long legs, and the same voluptuous figure. Just their figures alone were enough to defeat most women, not to mention their faces and temperament. Tang Yuyin grabbed the clothes, but there were too many clothes, and a few fell to the ground. She was anxious, and she bent down to pick them up. Coincidentally, Charlotte also bent down to pick up the clothes that fell to the ground, and their heads collided through the gap of the door. Tang Yuyin fell into the bathroom, and Charlotte's head also hit the bathroom door. At this moment, Tang Yuyin, whose limbs were spread wide, suddenly entered Charlotte's sight. There was nothing like this. Their eyes met. "Ah!" Tang Yuyin screamed and hurriedly covered her body with the clothes. "I didn't see anything." Charlotte quickly closed the door. "You stinking pervert! I won't forgive you." Tang Yuyin roared through the door. Charlotte said slowly, "Hurry up and put on your clothes. I've already put on our masks, and we should go." "Ha ha ha!" Long Bing laughed. This laughter, she thought that Charlotte didn't see her. 2 minutes later, Tang Yuyin and Long Bing came out of the bathroom. Long Bing had a smile on her face, but Tang Yuyin always had a gloomy face, and she looked uncomfortable all over. However, she didn't hit Charlotte. Now was not the time to play around. Once those CIB agents found the tunnel, it was likely that they would start a search. This place was only a few kilometers away from there, and it was easy to find here. Charlotte also pretended that nothing happened. He took the initiative to help Tang Yuyin and Long Bing put on the human skin mask, and then used the remaining materials to repair the gap between the skin and the mask so that it looked flawless. All three of them became fat, and their skin became darker. They looked like three authentic West Asians, and there was no way to tell that they were Chinese. "Let's go." After it was done, Charlotte said. However, Tang Yuyin pushed Charlotte into the bathroom. "You stink. If you are checked, your smell will arouse suspicion. You go take a shower, and I'll get the car." "Okay." Charlotte went into the bathroom and took a simple shower. Tang Yuyin and Long Bing came to the off-road vehicle. She tried to pull the door, but she didn't expect it to be opened so quickly. She looked at the driver's seat and said in surprise, "Strange, there are car keys." After a pause, she said, "There are also some water and food." Long Bing said, "It seems that they prepared it specially for us. What are those people's intentions? Even if it's a moss, they don't have to take care of us like this, right?" In the bathroom, Charlotte quickly washed the dirt on his body, but he was thinking about a problem in his heart. "Those two silicone things were probably deliberately left for me by my dad, right? If not, then they're Yelena's toys. That's too disgusting." Part of the toys that Yelena used was now on his face. This kind of thing was really disgusting to think about. However, the scene of Tang Yuyin falling in the bathroom quickly appeared in his mind. His breathing suddenly became a little faster, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. A minute later, the car drove out of the house. It didn't take the road, but drove into the depths of the wasteland. Fortunately, it was an off-road vehicle, and it could go through the wasteland. If it was a car, I'm afraid it could only take the road, and that would be very dangerous. A few minutes later, the off-road vehicle drove out of the yard and headed in the direction of Jordan. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.